Welcome to Apologetics Live. We're here to answer your questions and challenges about God and the Bible. Meet your hosts from Striving for Eternity Ministries, Andrew Rappaport, Dr. Anthony Silvestro, and Pastor Justin Pierce.
We are live, Apologetics Live, here to answer your challenging questions with anything you have about God and the Bible. We can answer them here. Just go to apologeticslive.com to join us in the discussion. We're here in the international headquarters of Silvestro, and that is what this place is called, right?
That's a good name for it.
Although we kind of slide over the camera there. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about superheroes, idolatry, the way people interpret things on social media, a lot of fun things. But before we get into that, just a quick couple things. Anthony, you got a conference down in Florida that you're going to be at. So why don't you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so down at Beulah Baptist of Winter Garden, Florida, it'll be Dr. Casey Butler, who's been a guest a few times on the show already. And we'll be down at his church. And it'll be Phil Johnson, Justin Peters, and Susan Heck doing a family integrated conference. Susan Heck will only be teaching the females. There's been some videos that have come out by some guys who literally have lied on the podcast, saying she'll be teaching men. That is not true at all. I'm the one who has made the schedule, who has kept the schedule. I know exactly who's speaking to whom. Justin and Phil will be doing full sessions. Dr. Casey and myself will be doing breakout sessions. I'll be emceeing the whole time. We'll do some good Q&As. And here's the best part is that on Sunday night, I think it's the 11th, during the weekend of the conference. So next Sunday night, a special Apologetics Live episode at 7 o'clock to 9. It'll be a live Q&A with Phil Johnson, Justin Peters, Casey, and myself. And so I'm really looking forward to that one. And we'll have a live audience for it as well as anybody who wants to come into the actual show to see it. And I guess we should probably also say, we've got some good shows coming up now too, right?
Well, we do. We have, for one, next week we're going to have, why don't you bring in Justin there?
Yeah. So okay. This has been a long time coming. I didn't even know the last time this has happened. But we have a special guest tonight.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yep. All right. See y'all. Nice to see you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Hey. So we're excited. This is the first time the three amigos have been together, and
since he started his class this semester.
yeah, it's been better than 4.5 months, almost 5 months. So
at least, yeah.
So next week, Dr. Andrew Burgraff is going to be coming in. We're going to talk about discipleship and the early church. This is his book, so I get to read this week and talk it up with him. He's my discipleship, evangelism, and apologetics professor, and he's just a great guy.
That's just crazy for me to hear you refer to him as your professor, considering I went to seminary with him.
I know. Well, you won't believe
his father has been on this show before talking about war.
Yeah, talking about war, just war theory, and
because that's what he did his doctorate in. One of my favorite professors, by the way. So we do have. So next week is going to be. We'll talk with Andy Burgraff, or you will. Then on the 22nd, we'll have. If you guys remember back, we had a guy that contacted or who came in that is claiming to have been a Christian, but now he does a reasons to doubt type of podcast. He wants to talk about New Testament documents and basically claim that they're not really original. They're all just made up from other ancient mythicism. So we're going to have him come on, and he did email me, by the way. I didn't tell you this. He did email me asking who he'd be discussing with. So he may have heard the rumor that he's going to be discussing it with James White. I don't know, but Dr. White will be in to discuss it with him because it's a topic I don't know as much about. And so, but I heard some of his arguments, so it'll be interesting. And so Facebook user here says, hello from, where's that?
the best state in the country,
Not
Ohio.
really.
I know. I wish our weather was better.
Yeah.
There's a couple of trees in that picture too. So
Yeah. And if you want to know how to get your name to show up so that it shows up like this on Facebook, all you got to do is go to apologeticslive.com, give permission for Facebook to use, I guess, to share your name. So one of the fun things.
Oh, wait. Before you get into that.
Oh, come on.
We got one other guest. Okay. So Justin has a guest next week. In 3 weeks, you have a guest, Dr. James White. I have a guest on the 15th, and that is Dr. Casey Butner. So it'll be a follow-up to the conference. And most importantly, what we are planning to do is because of all the videos that he and Justin Peters have done, the videos that he's done with us on Apologetics Live, have been really popular about why he's decided to leave the SBC and all the problems in the SBC. So he's been getting a flood of emails. I mean, he sends me emails, sends me texts of these things all the time. Flood of emails from pastors who just watched the show for the first time, are shocked, and they're like, "Can you give me more information?" So what we are going to be doing on the 15th is we're doing a 2-hour show and just laying out the case succinctly, quickly, not much chatter. We're just walking through all the issues in the SBC and why somebody should stay or leave. And so that's what the show's going to be.
Wait.
Yeah.
Stay?
Well, I mean, we're trying to be
being fair about this. Let's be very balanced. When you have the conservative wing decide that they want to get Johnny Hunt back in after he admitted to a sexual indiscretion.
Did he admit to that?
No, he admitted to a sexual indiscretion, even though she said it was rape. And he said, "Oh yeah, well, it wasn't really rape. It was just, we were both, consensual."
Yeah, there's still something with that story that I don't know. And we can never get all the facts because it's you're
not going to get the facts.
When you have other people saying they knew what happened, I was, you weren't in the room. I'm sorry. I mean, so it's based on their two stories, but if he did admit to something, then, and it could be in his mind it wasn't rape, and in her mind it was.
Yeah, Drew says Justin 2.0 laid the case that why you should leave.
And I agree in that case. I agree in this case. But Casey does want to bring this out because of all the people contact him. He wants to be able to just share a link.
Yeah, that's
in a response email. So what better than Apologetics Live for that?
Yeah. So in the mail, it's funny when you have a ministry, you go to the post office box and you never know what you're going to get. But here's the thing: whoever sends things, please have the courage, put your name and a return address, because I would love to talk to you. But got this in the mail: The Attack. It's a chick track on basically this is saying how the word of God has been kind of, Satan has been attacking the word of God throughout history. If you haven't seen chick tracks, they're a little comic book. They're usually gospel tracks, but this one is more on the King James only. And so James, okay, you're putting up the thing. James Cave says it's beard season now.
Except for Andrew.
No, my beard is just shorter than yours.
No shave November.
Yeah, well,
is now over, but
yeah. So it's interesting as I go through some of the things that you see in this. And I think what we're probably going to do is do a full episode at some point on King James onlyism, and just so that we can see it. But there are some things in here really interesting that if you didn't have any history and you read something like this, you're going, wow, this is really convincing. But there's things like they mention in here that when they were using the Greek in the Council of Nicaea in 300s, they were using this supposed satanic version of the Greek, which is they'll end up arguing that this is the same one that the Alexandrian one. They're going to say this is what the Catholics were putting in, and they'll say Bibles from Alexandria in Egypt played down the deity of the virgin birth, salvation by grace through faith. So they're trying to say that and this is an interesting thing they say. They say another attack came from the Roman Empire. Constantine, the first pope, ordered 50 Bibles and created the satanic Alexandrian manuscripts. Now, you know why they used the Alexandrian manuscripts? Because historically, that's the only thing that we know that they had. The Byzantine manuscripts hadn't existed yet. In fact, the King James is based off of the Textus Receptus, which didn't occur till the 1500s.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really kind of interesting as you read through this, because they say, well, the Latin Vulgate was based off of this satanic version. Well, yeah, the only Greek that they had at the time, right? It is interesting because they do admit in here that the 1611 version of the King James did have the Apocrypha in it. So if the 1611 is inspired, guess what? That means, yes, that the Apocrypha must be inspired. So they say Satan worked his way in. So real quick, before we get into topic tonight.
But then they do explain in here later on how then they decided to remove
it. Correct. So they say that the Jesuit priests kind of worked this in, and then the reformers got, they were able to get it back out. The reality is what you end up having in history was when you had the Catholics in charge, then the reformers, and it would go back and forth. They would rip every Bible out of all the churches and replace it. So you had the Latin Vulgate got ripped out, and it was replaced with, there was an English translation, by the way, with the Geneva Bible. And so that was the one that got replaced with it. And so, okay, Rip that out. Let's get the Catholics in. So this is going back and forth. Well, here's what ended up happening. King James tried to appease both. It was his plan all along to have an English version to appease the reformers and have the Apocrypha in to appease the Catholics, which basically appeased nobody. And so eventually, as King James brought in and the reformers got more of a hold, they got rid of Catholicism, and you ended up having them rewrite the King James actually several times. People talk about the 1611, but the actual King James that people use is the authorized King James from like 1781, I believe it is. So, so whoever sent this to us, hey, thanks for it, but man up and give us your name and address, or come on the show. We'll do a whole show on this and discuss the King James and why I believe, if you believe that the King James is the only Word of God, in other words, especially if you believe the King James is more inspired than the original Greeks or equal in authority, you're just wrong. We just lost the listeners. Look at that. Oh.
But I would ask though that you send all other kinds of chick tracks, because they are a blast to read.
Yeah, they're great. They're
really
great.
Enjoy them. All the ones with the hellfire and brimstone. That's good stuff. Actually, I wish more pastors would be.
What was the one that had no words at all? Your life or something, and it's just pictures of
your life now.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So I don't know if he wants to be added to the stream or not, but we might as well say hi, because he's in my house in my dining room.
Yep,
and
there's your wife.
There's your wife. Hello.
Hi, Donnie.
Yeah, Anthony's dead.
From the other room.
I see Donnie. I see his microphone is set up, and I don't hear him at all.
Yeah.
So
is it working?
It's working. Yeah.
You just got to talk.
Yeah. Did you want to be on live, or you just want to hang out in the back?
I can go live.
Okay, we're gonna keep.
I know Andrew misses me.
He does. He already misses you.
Yeah.
He said all day with you, and yeah.
Yep.
So
right,
okay, before we get into the topic though, there's one other thing I want to address. Only because Apologetics Live used to be on Sunday nights, and after that used to have the council that did their after show.
Well, we used to have an after show, and it became way too much for me doing 4 or 5 hours, and they would do the after show.
Yeah. So the council took over, John Wilkinson and others, and one of the frequent guests was a guy named Tyler Vila, and so
he was regular not only in the after show, but we had him on the show itself at times. So yes,
yeah. So I have to say I have disagreed with him pretty much since the beginning. I mean, his view on creation, his what I believe to be an arrogance towards other believers. Well,
Mhm.
I guess to believers.
That's why I blocked him. So
yeah, and one of the things I'll never forget is that when I was debating an atheist, so John Wilkinson had me on his show. This is probably 5 years ago now. I was debating an atheist. They were doing a promo show for my book, which had just come out a little bit earlier. An atheist came on, debated for a while, and Tyler came on, of course, gave his 2 cents that he didn't believe in creation. But he respected me for giving the gospel over and over again. And that was really cool. And it never left my mind, right? So I was never a fan of Tyler, but hey, you know what? He's a Christian. He's out there debating non-Christians. He's out there battling
and
for faith.
He would take any debate. I mean, he would.
Yeah.
He was good at debating.
That's right. And so obviously I was very saddened when reading the stuff, about 10 days ago now, when he put out his deconversion and then put out a second and a third part to the deconversion.
Yeah, let's address, it's not a deconversion because, Scripture is very clear. 1 John 2:19, they went out from among us because they were never of us. So even though he debated topics like Calvinism, the existence of God, creation, he had a lot of different areas he debated. But the fact is that he now claims he's not a Christian. Therefore, he never was a Christian. He went out from among us to expose he was never of us. That's what God says. Not me, not Anthony. That's what God has said.
And he should know that because he debated Calvinism for how long?
He's debated that issue for so many years. And you got to think too is when you're dealing with this type of situation, if you look at the culture today, and Anthony, you and I have talked about this before, when you go back to the Renaissance and you start coming forward into the transition from a biblical worldview to a sociological worldview, when people started bringing in sociology and psychology and bringing in their Nietzsche, Freud, and all these other guys in, all the philosophies, when they started bringing in, they did what's called a deconstructionism, and and that's tied into Christian Reconstruction and whatnot. And all of this is it's the product of the day. I mean, it's normal to see people outing themselves as well, I never was. John Piper's son, I believe it is, has the big thing about his Christian deconstructionism on YouTube, and he brags about it, that he's an atheist and whatnot. He talks about it all the time. So
yeah. So Drew says here, just shows you can have knowledge and yet not have a heart change, and that's true.
Yeah.
And then Jason Cave, who, as you see the little icon there, means that he is a member, which is when you're on YouTube, you can support us by being a member, and that sends us money, supposedly, I guess. But and you can always send super chats. But
I was gonna say, what's that? The super chat? It's been a while.
Yeah, the super chat is there's a little money sign on YouTube that has the way where you can put a chat and it pops it up special for us so that we see, and we will always read those. So Jason says God uses the lost all the time for his good, and that's true. That's the thing we have to remember.
Yeah. So I was really sad. I've been sad watching it. I guess there's 2 takeaways in all this. One that has really puzzled me. Now, granted, in his rooms, like I don't remember what it is now, Freed Thinker or something.
Freed Thinker, because
podcast.
Because he used to be a professing atheist, and he said he was freed from that thinking.
Yeah. So he has atheists and Catholics and all kinds of people on there. So you never know who's commenting about what. But there's been a number of Christians who have said, "Hey, lay off of Tyler. He's a brother. We need to treat him like one." And I'm like,
not if he's denying it.
What?
And let me just for the record say that I did reach out to him, and he's not returning my calls. This is someone he and I have had a relationship. We've talked. So
you guys were friends. I mean, so that's one. The other part I wanted to bring up is I hear this all too often, and it's why pastors really need to do a good job with the theological side of this issue of theodicy, because I hear constantly from unbelievers that they can't believe in God because if God is so powerful, so good, why do bad things happen? I hear from Christians all the time who don't know how to answer the question properly. Not that that saves somebody, right? But that we have to understand the theology rightly. And so we're watching Tyler right now saying that he, in his words, deconverted, right? Because God didn't answer his prayers. God wasn't there when he was going through his divorce and other issues in his life, and completely ignoring scripture, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the idea that in James 1 verses 2 and 3 that our trials and tribulations help us to persevere in the faith. We see the entire book of Job that talks about this. I mean, so the answers are in scripture for this stuff, and Job at the end of the book still didn't understand why.
He was never told what happened in Genesis.
Well, but what does Job tell you? That Job tells you that God doesn't know you an answer.
Doesn't know an answer.
I mean, that's exactly what you need to take away from Job. The hardships in our lives, because we just went through this at seminary. So I'm going to tell you, talking about Job, you have this guy who has 4 different philosophers come and tell them all their thoughts about God and how God should be and how he should be and everything that they know, and even Job complaining about his righteousness, he complaining, I want to have a meeting with God, and then when God showed up, all the meetings stopped, and God doesn't give him an answer. God doesn't say, hey, at no point in time did God resolve the big question that he had. Because what God did is he came and he changed the equation. So
here's the thing. When you get the question of evil, as Anthony said, we hear this all the time. How could a good God? I saw this earlier this week on Twitter where someone was challenging God can't exist because there's so much evil in the world. And I just said, can you explain how you can have evil without God?
Yeah.
Because if there is no God, we're just a bag of chemical reactions. There's no morality to it. There's no good and evil. It just is. No. When a lion grabs an antelope and eats it, it's not evil. It just is. There's no morality to it.
Yeah.
It's us humans that have a morality that understand good and evil. And so when we speak of evil, that requires God's existence in the first place to have this immaterial thing that we call morality. So to use evil to deny God, they have a problem. Because what is evil? Evil is the absence of good. Well, how do you define good? By the nature of God. To claim something as evil first requires God's existence. And so the argument itself has a flaw. And it's just that simple to make the argument. If you've been challenged with this is how you can argue very simply, right? When people say there's evil in the world, you just start with, well, that requires God, because evil is something. Good and evil are more a system of morality that's immaterial. It's not the product of chemical reactions.
Yeah.
So it requires an immaterial source. How do we have a universal good? How can you say something is evil? Well, you can only say it if you have a standard. And what everyone wants to do is say they're the standard or the government's the standard. The Germans tried that after World War II, saying, hey, our laws said it was okay to kill these people, so it wasn't a problem.
Well, when you teach that subjective morality.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When you teach subjective morality, you say, yes, there is an absolute standard, and it's my standard, but it's subjective to me, but I can imply it on you.
Yeah.
I can say that you're wrong, and I can say that what I see here is right or good or bad. However, you have to uphold my standard when it comes down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
When we're push comes to shove, and we see it in our government today. We see the forcing of a subjective standard on even Christians today. Now we're upholding marriage equality, which is not a biblical marriage, which is now a marriage for all, and now you're a Christian, you can't say anything against it. Well, it's coming.
We have a very, very intuitive and smart audience. So let's put some comments up here. Where would there be justice? And then right before that was this comment from Melissa that says, good versus evil. Great lead into superheroes.
Oh, man.
Chris Huff said segue. So we can't even get to the segue before the audience.
Yeah.
Hold on just a minute. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah.
You know, I tell you what, Anthony, I don't know if you saw it or not, but so to the audience, I want to say that Andrew Rappaport he's so incredible. I love it when he gets on Facebook and on Twitter and whatnot, when he gets on there, because he steps in landmines and he steps in hornets nest all the time. And it's like when we're having a conversation, the man is like a genius level. But when he writes it out, he's like foot and mouth sometimes. And he put something on internet. If you guys saw it, maybe that's why you're commenting here.
It's called Trump syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Trump
Well, okay. So here's the thing. I posted 3 things. Okay. And the ones that I expected to get heat for didn't get any attention. And the one that I didn't word great, but thought everyone, or at least believers, would agree with, got all the attention. So here, let me give you the other 2 that so I'm addressing the character of God. And this threw me. I did not expect this, that you discuss the character of God, and Christians, when character of God's under attack, Christians don't respond.
Yeah.
Like, talk about superheroes and you get a response. Okay. So here's the thing that I said. The woke mindset are those that do not accept that life is not fair. Their denial of people's sin nature leads them to think perfect fairness is possible. Then second post I did was, attempting true justice without God leads to human preference and oppression. Now, those 2 are the ones I thought I was going to get a lot of heat for. Nope. They got very little reaction, very little. But the one that got the reaction was one that I posted about, heroes originally. And I edited this a couple of times because I basically, I realized I didn't word it the best. And so I tried to correct it. So here's the original. I said, why do people like hero movies? Because they hate God. We are all criminals and sinners, and God is the only hero. Some people hate God, so they want substitute heroes. Now, what I meant by heroes was superheroes. And I was really clear afterwards. Now here's the thing. You can't go back on Twitter and edit things. So I did edit Facebook where I had posted it. But people were like, this needs to be taken down. The problem is, when you take it down, then
you're hiding something.
Evidence that, hey, this is what I said. Here's the corrections.
Yeah.
So I wanted that to still be up there. So I edited on Facebook to say, why do people like superhero movies? Because they hate God. We're all criminals and sinners, and God's the only hero. People hate God, so they want to substitute heroes. And then I added this. The point is, the unbelievers hate God, so they create movies with God-like features to replace God with superheroes, and unsafe people like watching them because they're all sinners. And I've said, if you look throughout, like on Twitter, Facebook, when I'd respond, I was saying several times that this is what you end up seeing is a case where, what I meant by my words is, where you see the word people, I meant unbelievers. Where you saw we, I mean all humanity. So people that in my mindset, now why am I saying in my mindset? Because this is going to become an issue. When we do interpretation of scripture, the proper way to interpret is what's called authorial intent.
Yep.
And that is something that we have to know. What did the author mean by their words, especially on social media, especially in Twitter, where you can't You can't edit it and change it and clarify it. But it's even quite interesting because I did add clarification on what I meant, and people accused me of lying and trying to change so that to soften it. Look, I'm not backing away from what I said and what I meant. What I meant is very clear in my mind, that unbelievers like to create substitute gods. This is not new in history, folks. Go check all the Romans and Greek gods.
We'll go back to
a lot of human
Egypt.
features and a lot of divine features. There's no difference there.
Yeah.
So Drew says this.
Where angels fear to tread, Andrew walks right through.
Now, I have a feeling, Drew, I may be wrong, but I have a feeling you were speaking to a guest that's coming in later this evening, because someone else sent me a Marco Polo today, Drew, using that same exact phrasing. And I forgot to, let me just go back to this one. I forgot to bring this up. It says, Striving for Eternity, you guys plan to watch the cessationist documentary? No, we don't plan on watching it. We plan on helping produce it.
There you go.
Okay, because we are producing that film with the guys that are doing it. So we're very active in that film. Hence the reason we were at, or at least I was at, the cessationist conference up in Idaho 2 weeks ago, week before Thanksgiving, to get for the interview for that film. So
just so you're up on the, just so you guys know that I want you to be up on the lingo. You can triple stamp on a double stamp, no erases.
What does that mean?
It's I can't remember where it's from, but I think it's from it's not Toy Story, it's the other one.
No idea.
Yeah. Don't ask me on pop culture, okay?
Yeah.
I don't remember what it's called. It's the
do you know what it means?
Yeah, well, actually what it's about is you can't erase something. You can only double and triple it up. Right? So there you go.
I still have no idea.
Yeah, okay.
In any case, the cessationist conference that Andrew is referencing at Jim Osmond's church is all free online. Andrew had a great message.
And that's what Kathy just says. Good message, Andrew, at the conference.
Yep. Yeah, I think he had the best message there, and I'm not being biased at all.
It was, and it was a different take. I mean, I actually didn't do. Okay, so I actually didn't do what I was really assigned to do. I don't think I was really assigned to the topic of looking through the fading of the the miracles in the New Testament. What I ended up doing was discovering, wait, as I started looking into miracles and going, why in the fact do we expect to see miracles today? And so it's very different than I had originally thought I was going to do, but it was, and I will say, if you want to see all the data that I produced, and the charts are all available at strivingfraternity.org/miracles. You can see my sermon notes. You can see, you'll be able to see all the charts that I produced to show how miracles are extremely rare. I'll just give you one quick thing with it that really struck me. You take out all the miracles done during the time of Moses, Elisha, and the disciples, and you are only left with 8 miracles performed by human beings. 8. Let that sink in. 8 miracles in 4,000 years of history. Why would we accept miracles as normative? And what's special about those other 3 times that I kind of put aside? Because what's special about those 3 periods of history was after a period of no scripture, silence, and then the new writing of scripture. So when there's new revelation being given, we expect miracles. Outside of that, we don't, because there was only 8 people we have in recorded history of, from scripture. So
yeah, it was great research you did on that. And, I hope that when the cessationist guys go back to interview you for the film, that
they already did that. We did that already. Yeah. Did that. So
okay.
So that's what we were all doing out there in Idaho. Idaho was all the guys that they needed to get interviews from, and so my interview is literally, I got up, preached. I had a half an hour to get ready for the interview. Yeah.
Well, please tell me some of this stuff. The stats were in your interview.
Some of it. Some of it was in the interview.
Okay. So because that was good stuff. So as we continue,
and here's what Drew says. He says Andrew's message was by far the most informative. So thank you for that.
Completely agreed. So Yep, that's absolutely right. So I have to say, Andrew is not against superheroes, and how do I know that? Because Andrew is a superhero.
Oh man,
he's playing Thor here, and now Andrew's been working out a lot lately. I've seen it. We've gone to the gym the last 2 days together, and I mean Andrew's getting buff. So superhero there. Maybe this one's not so buff, but Nacho Libre is one of our
I don't even
favorites.
know who that one is.
He's in a spoof, but our last one,
that's Andrew right there. That is him and a half.
I don't even know that one either.
Yeah,
Greatest American Hero.
Yeah. So these are all courtesy of my favorite
the
maker.
Meme King. The Meme King.
Yeah, the Meme King is Brad Worley, friend of mine here in Ohio. He's made some great memes, and one of his funniest memes that I've ever seen was one where he had Ken Ham duking it out with Charles Darwin. And I kid you not, I think it was at the Truth, no, not the Truth Matters conference, a month earlier at the women's conference that my wife was at, and I got sitting in the back, just kind of watching from the side, and he actually showed Brad's meme.
Oh, did he?
Up on his screen? It says, "I don't condone this, but it does talk about the issues in culture today." And so it made the big screen there.
Yeah.
And,
well, we could end up getting into, I don't know if you saw what went around was someone made a AI picture of John MacArthur at the Council of Nicaea arguing for the word of God. And, so people were not happy that, they had John MacArthur looking angry, but look, we could talk about that another time. I think that would be actually a good thing to discuss how AI is working as well, because I think that's
a scary thing.
So let me deal with this issue with the that we have with what ended up happening with some of this. So I had a person that when seeing this tweet that I did that said, which is speaking in my mind, I'm speaking of unbelievers hating God and wanting to replace him. And a lot of people took it personally, a lot of believers saying, you're saying that because I watch movies, I'm not saved. One person told me that I called her unsaved, and then told me I said that she hates God. And so this is someone who has, I know nothing about her before this really, but she has made a name for herself by she's one of the people that is very active in calling out the abuse of women and things like that. And so she put this up, and so there at the bottom you could see my original. Actually, I gotta let's see. I gotta remove the banner there so you could read it. So she posted this after, she told me I said that she wasn't saved. I said, I never said that. I told her that the people in my thing refers to, that it refers to the unbelievers, and the we refers to all humans. So she took something I said where I said, you read too much into a short tweet. Before asking the meaning, you concluded that I question your salvation when I never claimed anything close to that. You claimed I said it was evil to watch when I said nothing like that. Sorry, but you've overreacted. So she decided to go public by taking that, putting it on her wall and saying, he said, why do people like hero movies? Because they hate God. I pointed out calmly and logically that I like superhero movies and am a Christian. So he replied, I'm reading too much into the tweet. I'm overreacting. Alexa, what is gaslighting? And so what we ended up seeing with that was sorry. Your Alexa's actually asking.
Alexa's answering now. Yeah.
There you go.
That's too funny. See, I don't have Alexa products.
That's because they listen to everything.
Yeah. The Apple ones don't. Okay, so here's the thing that I want to point out, because this is a topic I think of good discussion for us to have, and that is what you end up seeing with this is someone who read something, and I've admitted that it wasn't worded correctly. That's why I offered clarification. Jennifer Greenberg has accused me of lying about my clarification. Now, I'll mind you, I put this tweet out and then I went to a place called church. That's where I was while everyone was responding. And so I didn't respond for quite a while because, it was Sunday. I kicked some things off in the morning as I was thinking about them. It was just getting ready for church and went out. And so the thing is many people ended up seeing what I said and what are you doing, Anthony?
I'm looking somebody up.
Oh, okay. All of a sudden, we're losing the Wi-Fi in his house.
I'll pick that off.
No, go ahead.
It may not be me.
Right.
Yeah, it's okay. It's on this screen. It's fine. So there we go.
Okay, it must be it.
It was-
Wow, we were taking too much bandwidth that way.
Yeah,
Oh, you guys are
Right.
killing it.
yeah. So
But you think about it. You have the opportunity to share with people, your heart, and brother, well, I read it. I did not think that you meant in anything, and I know you, and I,
but she doesn't. So
she doesn't. So,
let's give the benefit of the doubt.
but you were trying to
also-
clarify.
But here's one of the things that I'll say that I think you have a person who is always focused on abusers. I think she's looking to be. I personally think she's playing the victim card, because here's what she ended up posting afterwards. She said, now this is her. She's responding. Said, "You said I hate God." So here's the challenge I'll put to anybody: go through the thread. I didn't remove anything. Nothing. Go through the thread and find where I said she hates God. Didn't happen. That's called a lie. Now, let's be specific. I used a biblical word I'll get to later called slander, and she said, no, it's written, it's libel. Okay, I'm using biblical terminology because I'm in the biblical realm. I think that's more important than the legal realm. But if you want to use libel, fine. You committed libel. She said, now here's the way. She says, by the way, got your email. If you genuinely want to discuss this privately, why are you tagging me in threads telling random people I'm wrong? Regarding your email, I don't slander you because I don't lie. Also, in print, it's libel. If you watched Spider-Man, you'd know this. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't watch Spider-Man, but unless you can produce the receipts there, Jennifer Greensburg, unless you could produce the receipts where I said you hate God, guess what? You just committed libel. So what did I send to her? What was this message? And there's a reason I wasn't sure if I was gonna bring this up, but she didn't contact me privately. I went out to her website, to her contact thing, and I said this. I said, I'm asking you to please contact me privately. A phone call would be best so we can hear each other. I have tried to correct what I meant in my tweet. I understand the confusion in what I typed and how you understood it. As Christians, we should be willing to forgive. I did not have the meaning that you claimed that I did. I think there is a misunderstanding. You have written your own blogs about being misunderstood. So why would you, so I would hope that you would be willing to discuss this in a Christian manner. You do not like to be misunderstood and slandered, and neither do I. Here's the reason I find that interesting. She hasn't contacted me, but you saw that she acknowledged she received that message. Okay. This is a big thing that I do think we need to discuss as Christians in social media, because so many people, there's a number of people, and I have to look to see if I have the one person's thing that he said, because I had one person who said I could share something, and so I'll look for that. But the thing that you end up seeing is that what you have a lot is people who end up having a knee-jerk reaction. And I think with the superhero stuff, and Graham, we're going to get into this a bit in a little bit too, why people as Christians watch superhero stuff or anybody, I admit, I think it's been pretty clear through the years, I'm not pop culture literate. I don't watch this stuff. I have no interest in a lot of this stuff. So it's not that I'm picking on something just because I don't like it.
I mean, Andrew doesn't know the difference between a football and a soccer ball. So,
No.
One's square and one's a triangle, right?
No.
He doesn't know a tennis ball, though. That he knows.
You're wrong because it's look, you were here watching football. You just called it soccer.
American football.
Okay, so you don't know the difference between a football and a soccer ball. Okay, so
hey, I had to cheer on USA.
And you had to why?
Because we're Americans. And my Italians aren't in it.
And they were wearing they did stop wearing the gay colors. Okay.
They did stop wearing the gay colors. That's the best part about it being held in Qatar.
Yeah, they had to give that up. So let me see. I think I might have found that. So anyway, the thing though is that you end up seeing people have a knee-jerk reaction. They get that reaction, and even when there is clarification given, people don't accept that. They accused me of lying. They made all kinds of accusations. And here's the thing that really kind of bothered me with it is, what does 1 Corinthians say? Love believes all things. If a brother or sister in Christ is telling you, hey, this is what I meant by something, unless there's some evidence that they're lying, we accept that. Okay? And so that's one thing that I wasn't seeing. And I this is why I said, is there something going on where there is an idol, like just where people are making idols out of these superhero films, where they enjoy watching. People are saying, I enjoy watching these things.
Of course, there's a difference though between enjoying watching something for entertainment versus something beyond that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll be straight up. I mean, I have never understood since I got saved 15 years ago. I've never understood why there's a preponderance of Christians who love comics, Star Wars, and Star Trek. I don't understand this whatsoever. They've never been things that I've enjoyed, that I've been entertained by. Now, granted, I enjoy sports, so I have something that does entertain me.
See, I don't even have that one.
Well, and you got to think everybody has entertainment. Everybody has some entertainment things that they enjoy.
I watch tennis, but I don't get super into it where it's such a like that it gets to a level of idolatry. Now we got a couple people. Let's bring Josiah in first because he was there. I see there's someone named Batman that's backstage.
Yeah,
and then Captain America is backstage.
No, it's not Captain America. This
Captain Chris Onholz.
Out of character.
Yeah,
Captain America can't come on unless he's wearing Captain America.
Yeah. Well, he's got to fit into it. But all right, so let's bring.
He's putting on his outfit now.
Yeah,
just a hat on. I don't care, or the mask, whatever you call it. So Josiah, how are you, brother?
Josiah, brother. Uh-oh.
Something's up with this thing again.
Yeah, you're in it.
Hey. Stable, so I'm you got kind of lagging in now.
Okay. Well, then we'll put you backstage and let you type things that you want.
Yes, type vociferously.
Yeah, and we'll wait for our special guest to come in.
We'll wait for the guest. Atomic Apologetics. Whoa. Don't be dissing Star Wars. I didn't diss Star Wars. I'm just saying.
Well,
I don't understand the fascination. Yes.
Now, are you're really excited about that?
I've been trying for a long time to get Chris to do that. Thank you.
Coming in the helmet, man. That's it.
Captain America, welcome to Apologetics Live.
There you go.
And so, Chris, there was a reason, I wanted you to come in. Over the years, you've been into comic books, superheroes, the films. You dress as Captain America. I've never understood that. Okay, let me clarify. You dressed as Captain America going to these cosplay things. You've also, who's the other guy? Daredevil or someone?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're Captain Devil in the mix. But you've dressed as these characters. You go now. I have told you. I think it's cool that you go to like children's hospitals and with other people dressed up as Spider-Man and Superman and for kids in hospitals. I think that's a cool thing to do, just to for them to get something special. But you obviously, you and I are good friends. You watch these things. Have you ever in your life, as long as I've known you, with all that you do in comics, have you ever known me to want to say or even imply that you hate God?
No.
No,
not at all. So this is the thing, and yes, by the way, Drew and I did talk.
Yes, because you are the one that's, and you'll have to say what you said to me on the thing, because how you
so
were.
My statement was, where angels fear to tread, there goes Andrew. So
well, there was more. There was more to it than you said, if you remember. But if
I don't, because that's pretty much what I was trying to say.
Yeah, you had said that. You said something like that I kind of just open into these things, and I said this in the beginning of the show. This is one I did not expect to blow up the way it did. Now granted, I didn't word it well, so that I got caught there. Okay, but I did not expect this one to blow up. Anthony did.
As soon as I saw that, I was walking into church. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, he knew it was coming.
I knew.
So the thing is like, okay, so my fascination with the superhero stuff, that's stuff I grew up with as a kid and grew up with reading the comic books.
Wait. Can you lower your camera just a little over your right shoulder?
No.
Fascination. Fascination.
When he was just a little kid.
Hold on.
Some of us have books. Some of us have.
Okay.
So, all right. So let me finish what I'm saying here. So that was now you've caused me to knock my whole structure over. So that was something that was fascinating to me. I read comic books, especially in college. When I used to draw and be into art, that was what I drew. It was Star Trek, Star Wars, superheroes. When, as an adult, when the opportunity to engage that with my family and go to a Comic-Con event, which was something that most people can't go to because they were usually the big things out at, like New York or San Diego. Most people don't get the chance to. This was an opportunity for us as a family to take part. And so it became just a form of entertainment for my family and I to partake of something that we had loved growing up and share that with our family. And the more we did it, the more we got into it. And that's what resulted in the cosplay and being part of a community group that does things for charity and stuff like that. Yeah. So, and what I was exchanging with Andrew when we were doing Marco Polo is, I think there's something that Andrew pointed to that I tend to agree with on a couple of levels. Number one is that there is a longing within the human heart for something that is salvific, something that is heroic. And we see what's going on in the world. We desire something that can save, something that can deliver us from that. And that is throughout history. And Andrew, I was listening on the way home, and you were bringing up like the Greek gods of old. And that's exactly it. They were idealized, superhuman, deified entities, but they were just like humans. And they all subject to all the same frailties, to all the same emotional discord. They were flippant. They were vacuous. Had all the same issues. So that was their superheroes. Fast forward to today. We don't believe in the Greek gods. We don't believe in the pantheon of gods, but we still love the story of the hero. We still love something. There's something that longs for a person or an entity that's going to save. And so that's where the superhero genre, I think, speaks across the board. When you look at superhero films, look at the people that watch movies. They have a huge swath of genres that everybody will gravitate toward. But for some reason, why are the superhero films making so much money? Because we love that kind of story. We long for the hero. In fact, and I know this will go completely over Andrew's head, but with the Avengers movie, Infinity War, when it ended, the reason it was a gut punch is that the heroes didn't win. The heroes lost. The bad guy won. And it was a gut punch to everyone who watched it, because that's not how those stories are supposed to go. So the idea of having something saved, something heroic, to be the hero, it speaks to that longing of the human heart for something salvific. But as you said, Scripture's clear. We don't pursue by nature that which is God. We don't want God as deliverer. So we always come up with something different. And whether it's John Wayne in the white cowboy hat, whether it's Audie Murphy in World War II, or it's Batman, Superman, Captain America, or Spider-Man, we look for human heroes. And that's what these stories do. The other side of that is, I think, and this is where I think a lot of people, maybe one of the reasons people got a little upset, this is my opinion, is that there's also, I think, built into us a sense of right and wrong and justice. And that's one of the reasons stories appeal. God built into us, through our conscience, the sense of right and wrong. And we want to see justice done. And so whether it's cowboy movies or World War II movies or superhero movies.
Or wrestling.
Hulk
Hogan.
That's
Hogan.
Oh, man.
That's not a sport.
We're just hitting everything, guys. We're just destroying everything tonight.
I think Hulk Hogan's more real than Captain America.
We know for a fact that when they did those pal drivers, it was the real thing. And people's necks were broken. We know that. They recovered in one day. So we all know it.
But so we love the stories of justice, of heroics, of the bad guy being defeated. And I think that's one of the reasons even Christians, when they see somebody say, well, it's because people hate God, the first reaction is to say, that's not why I watch them. That's not why I and so I can understand to a certain extent, Kevin Schaefer, I was just going to say, there's a parallel with wrestling. So, but there's that sense of which we want to hear stories where justice is done. We want to see evil defeated. So I think that explains a little bit why people were taken aback. And granted, like you said, and this is something else I shared with you on Marco Polo, social media is one of those, it's a great platform that we have access to, that we can share many amazing things, but it also lends itself to two problems. Number one, we have to put everything in bullet point format, because look, I don't know how to be pithy. When I put something on Twitter, it's 15 tweets long. Sorry.
Yes, I've read your tweets. I've read your stuff. It is.
It's long. It's lengthy. I can't write short. I'm not good at it.
If I'm going to share anything you say on Facebook or whatever, I have to say part 1 and part 2, maybe part 3 or part 4. I just want to tell you, you have some conversations, brother.
I told him he should just write blog articles and share that.
Just write a book, you know.
The only problem let me time out. The only reason I don't do that is I can take a 15-point Twitter thread and 500 people can read it. I put it on my blog, 3 people will read it.
Yeah, well, see, that's where you get a really good, captivating opening. Like, God, if you watch superhero movies, you hate God, and then you put ... see more with a link to your. That's what you do.
Everybody's on top of it.
Yeah. Then if had I done that and gone to an article that explained what you did, what you said, then I'd have lots of clicks, right?
You would like to think, but it doesn't always seem to work. But
so one question for you, Chris, is and I just started looking into this actually for the seminary class on apologetics. I had to do a discussion about Moses and the staff. My discussion topic was on Moses and the staff. And most people don't realize this. He was the first biblical superhero because God said that he was going to fight all the false gods. Right. He was going to destroy and defeat them. He was going to humiliate them and show that their power was nothing. And he gave Moses and Aaron, both of them, he gave them a rod that they could use. And if you go and you look at the narrative story, it was super in every way. I mean, just the incredible, things that were done if you go through and look at the plague story, I don't know. I may have sent you guys a link to the essay that I did, the article that I did on the biblical narrative of the plagues and the history and what it meant. And each one of those plagues was a fight against one of their hero deities, which was, they were all evil. Well, they were all the Egyptians. Then you have later on in history, you have the Greeks, and they had the Roman pantheon of gods.
Mhm.
When you bring those up to today, all of the superheroes that we see today are, well, not all, but a lot of them are based in some form around the Egyptian and the Greek or Roman pantheon of gods, including like the Black Adam. He's actually Shazam and all that goes back to the time of the Egyptian false gods. And they're using Set and the demon god. They're using the powers of, and in the new movie Shazam, or not Shazam, Black Adam, they're actually raising Sabak, who is an amalgamation of Satan, Apollyon, Baal, Baal, and several other demons from the scriptures. They're raising that, and they're using the Egyptian gods to fight the demons of hell, and it's just wicked. But you think about it, it's like, this is not what you and I remember as growing up, because I remember when these books came out about the comic books, yeah, there was some bad stuff in them, but I also remember the virtue of the Superman and the characters like that. I remember watching Saturday morning cartoons. Bless you. I remember watching the Saturday morning cartoons, and from 6 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock in the morning, you were watching these cartoons that were just enthralling, but they weren't. They had no history of demonology and things like that with it. And I think that's where we're at today when we start looking at the Marvel and the DC characters, and we have to know the background of it. We have to know what the people believe, like Joel Schuster and all these guys, and what were they bringing in when they were bringing Superman in. I talked to Andrew about this earlier today. I never knew it, but Superman was based off of Nietzsche and the Ubermensch. And that's what Nazi Germany brought in as the Superman, and it was based off of that concept of raising up a superhuman nation based off the Ubermensch, and so since everybody rebelled against that idea, they just kind of twisted a little bit and they gave Superman the virtues of Jesus, and gave him he's the last son of Krypton. He's Kal-El, that El meaning God. So he's the house of God. And you have, all this stuff that was never part of our growing up.
Yeah.
But I bear to say, did everybody watch the Superman movie when it first came out in 78? Did you guys watch that? Now,
Yeah.
Andrew probably didn't. But most people did, right?
Yeah.
And you watch that and you're going, man, that was so great. But you remember those parts where Marlon Brando is saying, I'm giving them you, my only begotten son, and I'm bringing them. You're going to be the light of their world, and things like that. And I'm like, might be a problem here.
Well, and that's one of the things is that, again, superhero stories, fictional stories, always draw from something. You're going, you look at fantasy novels today. What do they draw from? The worlds that people like J.R.R. Tolkien created. They're always drawing from something. And so you can watch Superman, and if you're not worshiping him as a Christ character, you understand that they drew that from those places and that there are parallels there. And that's what the world does. The world creates entertainment. It creates figures that it will find compelling and entertaining, but there's always going to be some kind of background to it. And one of the things that we would always do, for example, with our kids, is that if we saw things that we knew that would be concerning or problematic is we would point out, this is what they're trying to say. This is what they're drawing it from. This is why it's, when you don't want to believe into what they're leading this to. And it was a teaching point. And so we can do that. We can look at entertainment and we can recognize where it comes from, and we can recognize the problems and teach from that what those problems are. The issue that I was getting back to earlier is the problem is that when we try to do this on social media, because of that bullet point thinking, we don't lend ourselves to those fuller explanations. That's right. And so two things happen. Number one, if I try to keep my explanation short and pithy, I can do what Andrew did inadvertently, which is sound like I'm saying something that I'm not trying to say. The flip side of that, and this is where we as readers need to have a certain responsibility. Andrew mentioned authorial intent. Look, if I write something, and I've done it, I've written things that people have misunderstood, and it was because I understood what I meant when I wrote it, and I didn't convey it well enough. People then accuse me of something. So look, the rest of the world, we know they're not going to do this right. Exactly. As Christians, we have a responsibility. Number one, if you're a writer, everything you do, you got to be as clear as you can. However, people are going to misunderstand, and you do the best you can. Number two, as a reader, you have a responsibility. And Christians, we are really guilty of this. We read something, we interpret it to mean A, and he meant B. And when he says B, we say, no, that's not what you meant.
That's not what you meant. Exactly.
Yeah, and that was one of the things, Chris, that you and I talked about a lot, because I mean, like I brought up this Jennifer person, which, by the way, I did mention some of the stuff that she put out, but I went looking to grab the screenshot for tonight. Since she didn't contact me privately, which is what she should have done. She acknowledged that was the thing. She's not willing to do that. But I did see this. Just throw us off on a tangent. She posted this. I don't know what's happening, but I'd like to thank Beth Moore. Yeah, I'd like to thank Beth Moore for never letting anyone silence her. Having come out of circles where women are discouraged from going to college, let alone writing books or teaching theology, she gave me courage to answer God's call. Here I am. Okay, first off, Jennifer Greenberg, and this is my response was, how old are you? Because it's been like a century or more that women could go to college. Like, I'm sorry, but yeah. Okay, that side note.
Yeah, that's a strange
that's a whole nother story for another time.
But and what I think you end up seeing is, you have a couple different groups of people that I ended up seeing responding to this. People like Jennifer, who are sitting there and saying, well, I took offense at what you said. And no matter what you say, I'm decided you called me unsaved. You said I hate God. You said I'm lying. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm correcting what I meant by what I said. And I did say to several people, there's one of the two of us that knows what's in my mind. And unless you're God, you don't know.
Yeah.
So I know what I meant by my words. It's not that I'm lying. Now, I did get this one. Unfortunately, I couldn't I couldn't find this on the computer to be able to share it with you, but Colin Lawson, and he said I could share this, but he responded to that post and said, my pastor preaches the gospel and teaches all things are second to Christ and that all entertainment should be trivial pursuits, but he likes superhero movies and occasionally and enjoys them occasionally. And yet, according to your illogic, he hates God simply because he enjoys superhero movies. I've seen some wonderful stuff from you, brother, but sometimes it can be profoundly ignorant and slanderous. You're not God, and you're not privy to the inward thoughts of a superhero fan, and thus are in no position to make such sweeping claims. How did you go about canvassing all thoughts / motivations of every single individual fan, comic book, movie, and single individual who is involved with the production of said movies? You need to either provide evidence for your sweeping accusation you've made, or else repent for bearing false witness. Now, that's a very strong reaction, right? And I've got a lot of strong reactions. So with each of them, the thing is what do? Let's come and talk together. Let me explain what I mean. Yeah. So I respond. I said, Colin, okay, either you did not choose to read the fuller clarification, which is where I explained the meaning, or you believe your pastor's an unbeliever. I'm not sure which it is. I said, let me help you with that which you ignored in the for your emotional reaction. I said the point is unbelievers hate God, so they create movies with godlike features to replace God with superheroes, and unsaved people like watching them because we're all sinners. And he said, yes, I read the clarification, but it didn't click. I feel so embarrassed, brother. I'm really sorry and didn't take more time to think through what you were saying.
Praise the Lord.
I understand what you were saying and totally agree. Please forgive me. I need to spend more time in Proverbs. So I said, brother, first, you're forgiven. Second, you're very rare. I will address this at Apologetics Live Thursday because I cannot believe how many believers refuse to accept any clarification and want to make accusations instead, even when people agree with the point I'm trying to make. Because I had people do that. I had people that agreed when I made the clarification.
Yeah.
Even when people agree with the point I'm trying to make, they still double down on what they claim I meant. It is really sad. It makes me think. Hold on, because I have to go between pages here. It makes me think that many. Now I got to look where that is on the next page. Many believers have made an idol of entertainment. Colin said, thank you, brother. I've seen a lot as well. It definitely is a pride issue. And often in our cardinal minds, we Christians don't want to admit when we're wrong. We Christians often want to appear smart and correct. And at times, especially on social media, when others can see our reaction, so we give into pride. Yes, please feel free to use me as an example of how not to act.
I think that's an example of how he should act. I think that's how we should.
And here's the thing with it is, the one point, I know you want to say something, but the one point that I want to say is, yes, this is an act of how to properly do things. But
yeah,
what I ended up seeing with the interaction is, here's the point. You could go through the post. What am I doing when I'm saying, hey, this is what I meant by what I said? I'm offering clarification because it wasn't clear. I'm admitting that what I originally posted was not accurate. Okay? It needed clarification. And yet there's people who said that I was the one doubling down and not willing to admit I'm wrong. And a bunch of people call me to repentance when I'm like, well, this is what I meant. No, you didn't, you liar. Like, we need to have a reaction like Colin to say, okay, let's take a step back and understand what a brother or sister is actually saying. Now, with Jennifer, I'm willing to give her the grace, but the reality is she's lying in public. That's libel, which she calls libel. We want to, the Bible calls slander, but the fact is she's not willing to contact me privately. She's only willing to go public. Now,
if we could
issue, okay, I'm just going to say, when you see people that have a way to reach to someone to clarify privately but prefer the public, I think that's a problem. You see a guy like this who's saying, hey, look, you know what? I'm listening to what you're saying. I was wrong. Colin Lawson has gained a lot of respect in my mind.
Yeah.
Well, so what I was going to say is that how many times do people claim that Andrew does not admit when he's wrong? Right? And here Andrew admits he was wrong.
I do it publicly.
He did it publicly. You offered a clarification, and people still don't accept the fact that you were.
By the way, everybody, just everybody in the show, I want to tell you this. Right now is the time for you to write it down on your calendar, and that Andrew admitted he was wrong. So, I mean, you can say, I've got the date written in stone. It's chiseled down that Andrew. No, I'm just kidding.
He's done it a few times before.
He's done it a few times. Yeah,
I have a consistent track record of doing that, though. I mean, like if I say something on Facebook and it's wrong, I correct it on Facebook on the thread,
exactly.
so it's there, and I leave it there. Why did I leave this post that everyone told me I had to take down? Because I wanted people to see that, yes, I said this, and here's the clarification.
Yeah.
So no one can accuse me of trying to hide it and cover it up. You're now you're trying to hide it so people can't see it.
Well, I know we kind of got jumped kind of a little bit on,
we'll
this
get back
rabbit
to the
trail.
superhero thing because we got.
But I do want to say this though. One of the things that shows the heart of true biblical Christians versus those that are, and I hate to say this, but those that may have showing evidence that they may not be. And Tyler Vila, I'm sorry guys, I know he was your friend, and I tried to be friends with him for quite a long time, but he's very angry, very arrogant, very condescending towards other believers. If you didn't follow his line, he would come after you. I mean, and he came after me many times because I'm a creationist. He's not, and he just did not. We didn't click, but it was very arrogant and aggressive. JD Hall was the same way.
Position, and he and I could get along.
Well, you get along with porcupines, but you think about this. JD Hall was that way too for the longest time. He very aggressive towards anyone that was not in his group, and then you see a lot of other people that are that claim to be in the apologetics realm or claim to be in the intellectual realm, that they are very aggressive. And so we have to be very careful when we're responding like this, that we're not just looking to attack people. And that's one thing in apologetics. When you're doing this, you got to be careful with it.
Common in discernment ministries, which I think is what Jennifer Greenberg is trying to be.
Yeah.
Discernment in the area of abusers but the thing is that what you also see with people is, as I think I see with her, it seems, I'm not sure because I don't know her at all. I haven't followed her a lot. So I mean, I started reading some of her blogs and stuff after this, but to me, it seems like she's playing the victim card. Like, you're saying I hate God. I never said anything like that. That is a lie. She's implying that by misunderstanding what I'm saying. She said, I said that she's not saved. I never said anything like that. That's a lie. And so, but then she's playing the victim going, oh, you're saying that I'm the one, like, because you are lying. That's why. Yeah. It's not that I'm saying it. I'm giving the receipts. Okay. Here's the evidence. Now, if she wants to prove me wrong, she's got to show where I said the things she claims I said. Right.
Well, now, if you don't mind, we do have the greatest detective in history. He's in the backstage.
Before we bring him on, though,
okay,
we do need to read these because we did ask Josiah to put it up. So I don't know if Josiah's going to be able to say anything, but I'll read it for him. He wrote, I was watching the Flash TV show with my wife a few years ago, and that opened my eyes to the whole superhero thing. They said the superheroes were the new gods.
Yeah.
Then in a commercial on the CW, they said their channel was not welcome to people who were against diversity. It was then that I realized the culture was trying to replace God with these false gods who are promoting their woke religion. We were done with superhero stuff after that. So I wanted to put that up there because Josiah has been waiting patiently. I do want to say, one of our faithful listeners, Carol, she said, I'm sitting here, I think, wondering why more believers aren't watching SFE or other programs like this to see the fun along with the great information and teaching. So thank you, Carol. I know you're a big fan of the show. And I do have to say, I was given a private message from Carol earlier today. She did ask us to pray for her. So it asked for people to pray for her. Okay. She's been sharing the gospel with unsaved family members, one of which is on his deathbed with cancer right now. So pray for her for strength.
What, do you know his name?
I don't think she wrote it.
Okay.
No, she did not write his name. So
Carol, if you get a chance, just text Anthony with the name if you want it known, and we could pray specifically for that.
Yeah.
And we have you have two others highlighted there.
Yeah, well, I think you did this one. So KT said earlier, well, she may feel you imply that as she misunderstood who you were speaking about, it seems like she should have been willing to give you the benefit of the doubt on that one, talking about Jennifer Greenberg.
Yeah, and that's the point, is when we're doing the discernment thing, and I got to say this, when we're doing discernment stuff, we've got to be careful that we don't have our biases play into what Andrew or what anybody else meant by what they said. authorial intent. Somebody posted this a minute ago, and I pulled it up. I think it was Jason Cave. Posted up, said, the thing is context, context, context. We care about authorial intent. We want to know, what did the author say, and what did he mean by what he said? Not just what did he say. Don't stop with that. What did he mean by what he said? And that's where I want to say, when I read through that, I was just like, I was shocked that, I'm a Christian too. How dare you say that, Andrew? Well, I'm sorry. I was, I told Andrew I had to do some repenting when I went and I looked at the Good Fight Ministry stuff.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
I know, but I had to do some repenting when I saw that. And I'm looking at Andrew's post. I'm like, I agree with what he's saying.
Yeah. And let's just, before you bring that person in, look, Josiah, you've written 2 books now specifically on hermeneutics. Or
yes.
3, yeah, Romans. That's right, the Romans roadblocks. So you got Romans roadblock. You have Oxgord's My Neighbor, and you got a lot of static.
Yeah, I think it's on Josiah.
Yeah, it's on Josiah's.
Yeah, I'll never remove you from the stream, Josiah. But we'll keep talking.
And he's also got the small little booklet, what it means to me. So he's written a lot on hermeneutics. Justin, you just got done with a class on hermeneutics. I mean, this has been an area of my study for 30 years.
Oh, and if you want to learn more about hermeneutics, somebody is going to be doing an hour teaching on this at Joe Kunkel's church, which is why Andrew's in town in Mansfield, Ohio. So he'll be preaching on Sunday, and then
after lunch, do a 1 hour session on interpretation, or just have us come to your church and do a Bible Interpretation Made Easy seminar. Just go to strivingtoturn.org, schedule that. That'd be great. And we don't have speaking fees. So we, oh, look, he's trying to signal for a MyPillow commercial.
Sorry. I was going to sleep. I need a pillow.
I thought maybe you were putting him to sleep just talking about.
No. Put Kyle
in a pillow.
No, Kyle's prepped for it. Kyle's prepped for it.
Kyle, I need a pillow.
Cole, put Cole up there.
Is Cole going to do the commercial for us?
Well, he's got. There's a reason. Because
I'll pull the video up.
Not the video. I'm not going to pull up the video. That would be.
He sent me an email with the screenshot. I woke up to that email.
Well,
are you serious? Okay,
so hold on. Let me show what we're speaking at. So this is the new commercial for MyPillow. Here it is. Here's Cole saying, "I need a MyPillow. Use promo code SFE." This is really happened. Cole fell asleep in the backstage. When the show was over, we brought him in, snapped that picture. We had an after show for about 30 minutes. He didn't wake up. We all left. He was the only one left in there. So we made this, and I sent this to him. I need a MyPillow. Use promo code SFE. That is the now. I couldn't help it. It's like saying I need a pillow. I mean, it looked like he had the one around his neck even, but hey, I didn't show you yet, but I got a new product from MyPillow, something new that I tried out.
Really? What was that?
So they have, that when I travel with my MyPillow, and they used to have this vacuum bag, but my vacuum bag from overuse just didn't seal. They now have a pillowcase, a roll-up pillowcase. So you put your MyPillow in the pillowcase, roll it up, and it has this little lip that you put over it, and it holds it, so it doesn't take as much space in your luggage. So new product I got. I'm enjoying that one. So if you do travel with your MyPillow, they also have a roll and go pillow. I brought that here with me to try out. They said, if you're in a hotel, you could just stick that on top of the hotel pillow, and that way you still get the benefit of a MyPillow. Wow. So we brought those with us. So if you want to get anything from MyPillow for Christmas, great Christmas gifts, go to mypillow.com and use promo code SFE. Also for Christmas, you can go and get as many copies as you want. We didn't put a limit on the number of copies of What Do We Believe. If you want to get What Do We Believe at 50% off, just go to strivingforeternity.org, go in the store, get as many copies as you want of What Do We Believe. Use promo code Christmas to get your discount. So those are some Christmas gifts. If you're still looking for some gifts, those are some things you can get. So we have so Cole, anything that you wanted to add, I guess, since now that you're in here?
I know I come in a little bit late. I did see the tweet. I read that, and yeah, there's that just opens up such a Pandora's box when you post something like that on Twitter. And the only thing I could think of is I have a friend of mine who's not a Christian, kind of left, and he sends me all the time he sends me these things that people will post on Facebook that are the Christians that read way into everything. It's like Satan, 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 Satan all the time. And it's a picture of like a Heineken label flipped upside down and inverted, and it's all like scribbled on. And it's like, oh, it means all these things.
I can see him taking, especially that first line, which is what most people are doing, and reading into that and using that.
It's it.
Yeah.
And so, but the whole superhero thing, I don't mind stories that are fiction and fantasy. We like C.S. Lewis and Tolkien and stories that have character story arcs. And the thing that has turned me off the most about superhero flicks and just movies and entertainment in general is there is no character development. Everything is a stage for throwing politics in your face. There's no character development at all. Even some of the video games that I play that arguably could have some questionable content, but I play them mainly for storyline, and I just can't. There's not one piece of entertainment I can pick up that has good character development anymore. It's and that character development, like in C.S. Lewis or in the Tolkien stuff, have Christian, like they have good values to them.
Well,
I think lessons to be learned.
I think it was Donnie who said it at dinner before. Was they want they like the Christian stories and the Christian values, just not the Christianity that produces it.
True. Yeah, they like the moral content that. But
there was a movie called Blindside that was about a true story, but they didn't like they make the Christians look really bad,
the bad
even
guys.
though that's the Christians did the good things. And like I know personally with the story of Bethany, who had her arm bit off by a shark. I forget the name of the movie. Soul Surfer was something like that. So she actually fought, because I know people that know her personally. She was fighting just to have, in a scene in the movie where she's in the hospital, they had to fight to have a Bible just on the table. That's how much they didn't want that in there, and yet the whole thing is about her Christian values. So you had some.
Yeah. So Carol did Facebook message me, and she did say to pray for her sharing the gospel, and that it's her ex-husband Jim, and their 4 kids, Tracy, Carrie, Jim Jr., and Nancy, and their families. So she's spending time witnessing to them.
So it's her ex-husband who's on. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
we'll pray for Carol for sure.
Yeah.
So let's get into let's bring. We have a guest back there. I'm going to put Cole let's put Cole in backstage, and then you could bring in our.
We'll bring him back in when he falls asleep again.
Yeah. Why don't you bring in our superhero there that's backstage?
He's been patient.
Andrew.
Hello, Batman.
I can't believe that you're talking about this. We could be spending our time on so much more beneficial endeavors. But you want to talk about superheroes and cause trouble on Twitter. That's my job. Okay, I'm done.
So now we have to guess who that is behind the mask.
I have no clue.
Oh, I think I have a clue. My guess. We should everyone get their guess ready.
I think we should have a face-off between.
I know who it is. It's Justin Peters. Is who it is.
Captain America. We know who he is. I think Batman is originally when he is backstage. I was thinking this has got to be John Wilkinson, but
It's not his face.
no, it's not his face. So I think this is one half of Matter of Theology. I think this is Drew Von Nita.
Maybe.
I think we have to
No.
remove the mask back.
No,
man.
I'm sorry. Look at the background. It's Justin Peters. We know it. Yep, that's our brother Justin. He's in there.
Well, let me tell you, friends.
Someone's guessing Matt Slick.
Someone's guessing.
Yeah, that's Matt Slick. All right.
No, Matt watches.
That's actually Donnie.
I use my insinuationist powers to transform into Batman.
Oh.
Well, yeah, Matt Slick is wouldn't have been my guess. I'm trying to look if I could grab the picture that, you know, the real Batman is Justin Peters. If you don't know why, Matt Slick calls him Batman. The history behind that was, if you don't know, Todd Bentley, a false teacher, was not far from where Justin Peters was. And we're telling this story to Matt Slick, and Justin Peters just hobbles himself onto stage, which to this day, I still cannot figure out how he did it without anyone noticing. Like, none of the security saw a guy with crutches slowly hobbling up one, stair at a time, up stage, and literally his buddy is capturing video, and you see Justin walk right behind Todd Bentley. and Todd Bentley's like, "Oh, hey, we're not going to do a healing here." And Justin goes, "I have a word for you." And hands Justin the mic. Justin recited Matthew 7:21-23. Many will come to me on that day and claim, Lord, Lord, haven't I done great things in your name? And the Lord's going to claim, I never knew you. Todd Bentley says, "Who is that man?" Hands the microphone to Justin. He goes, "You are that man." and at that, Matt Slick just goes, "You're Batman. You're the spiritual Batman."
Because that's when he got dragged out, right?
Yeah, he got dragged out. Yeah.
Well, we had him as a guest on Matter of Theology when we were at the Cruciform conference, and he told that story. And he said once they got into the parking lot, they were trying to say that Justin assaulted him.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't think
Justin,
so,
of all people, with his crutches, like, he could barely stand up, and he was throwing punches.
But how does that feel to know that Justin Peters, the gentlest man, masculine but gentlest man, the kindest man, and he's has his physical problems, beat you up?
Yeah. Go to bed.
Well, ask Andrew that, because there is the evidence of that.
Oh yeah, we did see that. Yeah,
there's a picture. There's evidence.
JustinIwin.com if you want to see the evidence of that what they're referring to. And you'll see the battle that we've had, the epic battle. But JustinIwin.com, there's a video that explains it on that site. But to what you said, Justin, I do know Ray Comfort and I were once talking, and this is back when Chad Williams, who's a Navy SEAL, used to work at Living Waters, so they'd go out to Huntington Beach every week. And we're sitting there, and someone asked Ray, "Do you ever get nervous sharing the gospel, like that someone's going to hurt you or something?" He goes, "Well, no. If I ever get in trouble, I just say, 'Hey, Chad.' And Chad commends me." And so I said, "Ray, getting beat up by a Navy SEAL, that's almost like a badge of honor. I mean, win or lose, you can't lose, because at least but he was a Navy SEAL." I said, when I get in trouble, because we used to have someone that worked for the ministry, and she'd come evangelizing with us. I said, if I get in trouble, I say, 'Hey, Melissa.' And when you get beat up by a 5'2", 110-pound girl, you can't even brag about it. Melissa's like a third degree, at the time at least, the third degree jiu-jitsu black belt. So,
I was listening to, it was an old video of Ray Comfort talk. He was teaching people how to do street preaching and evangelism, and he was talking to people. He said, "Now, when you see me up there, and you see a heckler, don't go after my heckler. That's my heckler.
Leave my heckler alone.
He's mine."
I've actually done that. I called a guy out and said that's my heckler because he was, and the heckler was Solomon Siegel. The guy started talking to Solomon. I was losing the crowd. I said, "Leave my heckler alone." I had to apologize to him afterwards. Okay, so let's transition to this, the whole thing of superheroes.
And while we do that, just remember it is an hour and 34 minutes in. So what time are we going to be into?
No, we're finishing up.
Gonna hit Anthony
up
time
in 25 minutes.
Okay. He's warming his hands up. He's ready for it.
Look, I will say this. There's something I'm noticing being in the international headquarters of Silvestro, and on his computer. I now know something. If you guys have had this experience where you text Anthony and he doesn't get back to you, I now see why. 337 unread text messages. I now know why. If he hasn't gotten back to you, you now know it's because he's not reading any text messages.
Just on the computer.
I didn't have that problem. I sent Anthony a text message last week, and he responded.
I did respond right away. And I hope it helped too.
Yes, thank you. So let's talk. I mean, so the one thing I wanted to do with this show was to address the thing of, the tweet that I did, whether or not, like just how we should be responding online, understanding authorial intent, having some deference for our brothers and sisters and hearing them out. But in also in this, I asked the question, do Christians idolize superheroes? Because this was, to me, I know a lot of Christians that enjoy watching superhero movies. I get it. Well, no, actually I don't get it, but you guys get it. But I don't watch any movies really. So, but here's the thing. With that, my other thing that I started to notice and really get concerned with is what I started seeing is almost an idolatry of this, where people are just, I think part of why they had this knee-jerk reaction is because they love these things so much that it's like, I immediately respond to this and I won't let anyone clarify to say something other. And that became an issue. And then Justin, you ended up finding a whole bunch of stuff that you wanted to share with some of this. So let's transition into, superheroes with Christians. As far as unbelievers, I think we all agree. And I know some people were trying to challenge Matt Slick to come in here. And I think Matt would have agreed with me with my conclusion that I think unbelievers generate these movies because they hate God and want to replace him. And I think a lot of the unbelievers who watch these movies, they too want a replacement God. They deny God exists, but they want to believe like Superman exists.
Because we have idol factories in our hearts, right? So I mean, one of the fascinating things, right, in the last almost 3 years now is with this whole COVID thing. I mean,
what's that? I thought we Christians don't believe that there's such a thing. I mean, that's what AOC and all the Democrats say, is that we don't even believe COVID exists. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
What's that? I never heard.
AOC also thinks she's smart too. So
well, that's true.
But she's the only one.
Don't say that. Well, I got something in my mouth.
but think about the hero thing, is because people throw around the word hero for really anything, right? And our doctors are called heroes, our nurses are called heroes, vaccine people are called heroes. I mean,
what about police like Mr. Hunholz?
Until
not him
came around, and then they're no longer heroes.
Yeah, now they're not heroes.
Yeah, then they're the opposite of heroes.
Oh no! Wait! They were heroes again when one died of a stroke in the Capitol on January 6th, and they claimed it was from being hit with a fire extinguisher. He was then a hero.
Yeah, that's
The
right. Yeah.
Democrats had heroes again.
Yeah, but so people throw the word hero out. For
wow, look at what Julian said.
Julian says they've even made Satan a superhero, and she's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh boy.
And just one thing to think about is you've got
so many finish this point.
Oh, I'm sorry, Anthony.
No, that's really it. I mean, it's really part of a grander problem of people with idol factories in their hearts and viewing things. So I think even Christians can fall into this issue in the same way. They can put more into a superhero movie than what they really should.
Now, did you mind when they made doctors heroes?
Actually, I think it was dumb. I honestly,
was it just because they excluded dentists from that? They're not real doctors. That must be what it is.
You know what?
That's so good.
I always view myself as just a servant to patients, but
He's a servant.
never as a hero.
You know, they never count Batman as a superhero either, just like they don't count dentists as doctors. So I understand.
Oh,
I guess we're in the same boat.
That's right.
Batman's a rich kid with daddy issues.
Oh, and for the record there, Drew, Melissa says that you're a better Ray Comfort than me. I'm going to have to get Ben Price on here. For folks who don't know Ben Price, he's
he's great.
He's a comedian. Does impersonations. He was in the film Audacity, and you were there, I believe, when we were at a dinner and he's doing impressions, and he said, "Anyone have any impressions?" I said, "I want to see Ray Comfort share the gospel with Donald Trump." And I got to tell you, I wish I recorded it, because this guy, he had both of their voices down pat, their behaviors down pat. He even somehow managed to have Ray Comfort share the gospel with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump cutting him off. It was amazing.
Well, do you believe you're a good person? I'm the greatest person ever. I believe always. Yes. There's never been a person quite like me.
That is exactly how it went.
Thank you for asking. Yes.
All right, so Justin.
All right, so when Andrew posted this, I've already been doing a lot of research for the seminary classes on just kind of the idea of heroes through the plagues, and then if you go looking through Scripture, these men who were endowed by God to do certain things that aren't normal, right? And so as I looked through, I've already been studying this a little bit, but when Andrew posted that, it reminded me that what got me into looking into this was the whole Black Adam. When he came out, as we just talked about a few minutes ago, is with the Black Adam thing. When he came out, he is using the powers of the Egyptian gods, which Moses fought. And so that correlated to me, that related to me. But the big bad guy in the whole movie was said to be Sabak. And if you guys, there's a video on YouTube about it that Doreen Virtue puts out, and she talks about with somebody. She was talking with somebody about it. I can't remember who it was, but it has to do with the possession of a man when he says the name Sabak, kind of like Shazam. And possession of a man between Satan, Apollyon, Baal, and a couple of other demons. I can't remember who they are, but demons from hell give him black demonic power to overtake the world and open the portals up of hell. And that's what this movie is. But here's what you got to think about. Chris, was talking about a little bit ago about how we were raised with the idea of the heroes. And we were raised with this idea and this concept of something outside of ourselves, or someone that is an actual hero that does virtuously and whatnot. Now it's the anti-hero, or the bad guy who is given the Christ-like virtues. But here's what I found as I was starting to do the research is there's a thing that's called Gnostic inversion. And Gnostic inversion is when they take the virtues of God and apply them to the bad guy, and the virtues of the bad guy and apply it to the good guy. So Thanos, and it's from the writings of the people that wrote the idea of Thanos and Marvel. Thanos is a representation of the biblical God. He comes down, he's going to exercise his judgment, and all these good guys are going to go stop and kill God. And it's over and over and over again, these things that are talked about. And so as I was looking at it, I saw, let me share this screen here. I saw Good Fight Ministries, and they're Armenian, they're they're not perfect yet, but they'll get there. But
wow.
No, they're great. They're great. No, seriously. Maybe you agree with everything, maybe you don't. There's a couple of things I was like, yeah, maybe a little much. But as I was watching this, like Andrew said, bringing the receipts. This man they took the time to bring the receipts and to show what this was about. But I want you to listen to the very first part of this video. It's just now this video is like 2.5 hours long, right? But we're not going to listen to all that. I just want to show this first part of this, and then I want to show a different video that relates to it. But I just want to see the first 2 minutes or so of this, and I want you to hear what he has to say. And this is coming from the producers of Marvel, the producers of the comic books, the producers of today's work, and where they get their concepts from. So
it says war on God. I'll just fill in what's on screen for the audio.
How do we codify our moral structure without the sky bully looking down on us, telling us what we're supposed to do?
Who's the sky bully?
On this rock, I will build my church.
There was never any, can you redraw this? There was never any, you'll need to rewrite this sequence because I can't. That never happened. It was really just a kind of what we call telepathy.
Do it. Do the techniques. Go and buy an Alistair Crowley book. I found out that if you do these things that you're told by Alistair Crowley, by Wilson, by all these people we read and all these people we've been consuming, if you actually do what they say, things happen and it works. This magic works.
Very frightening at first when I realised that, oh, this is actually a demon. I'd thought that they were kind of hypothetical, but this doesn't seem to be hypothetical.
For some reason, I went to the Bible. I came up with Galactus. And of course, the Silver Surfer is the fallen angel. And when Galactus relegated into Earth, he stayed on Earth.
We wanted to do a piece of pornography that was pornography.
He was a rape murderer in a superhero comic. To this day, I'm still surprised that Marvel was able to just say.
It was based. There was no rapture. There is nothing. There is only us.
It's like it's a bullet with a candy cane. You know what I mean? It's the kind of thing that a kid can read it. Their parents will never be the wiser.
I had to pause that right there. Think about what this just told us. Let me close this out real quick. Thank you, Andrew. Think about what we just found out. We found out that Joss Whedon, who is one of the biggest writers, producers, directors, and he's all part of this Hollywood Marvel DC crowd, Joss Whedon, he just said, we don't want the sky bully telling us what morals should be. We want to have our own. We have Michael Brown, I think his name is. He is one of the producers. He is one of the men who are responsible in the Marvel universe for the comic book collections and the comic book sales. And he's telling people to go get Aleister Crowley's teachings on the Book of Satan, and you study that and you manifest that as you ask the demons into your life, and they will help you along your journey. They'll do all these things. It's just mind-blowing. Go ahead. I thought Andrew was wanting to say something there.
No, I was coughing.
Oh, okay.
Cough.
You muted it. Let me see. Give me just a second. I'm going to pull this other one up, which is kind of the one I wanted to talk with you guys about. As soon as I find it.
And so, one of the things while you're looking for that, let me just say, I mean, I did end up having one person that was trying to say like, oh, all you fundamentalists that are, you're against all movies. I think we've been clear here. There's no one here that's saying we're against all movies.
No.
I'm not saying that all superhero movies are made of the devil. Nothing even close to that. I'm not saying that if you watch them, you're not saved. If you watch them, you hate God. I'm not saying anything like that. But there is some of these things you do have to look at what, again, authorial intent. When you have Star Wars saying that they are the guy who creates Star Wars, George Lucas, says he wants to create a new religion, the Jedis. He wanted to replace the religion. How do you sit there and say, oh, no, that's not really what he meant? No, that's not it.
Yeah.
No, that is it. That's the authorial intent. And so you have to be honest with that and say, if that's what they intended to do it for. Now, I will say this as kind of a caveat. It's interesting that when you have a George Lucas saying that that's his intent, they ignore that, right? And then when I say, well, this was my intent, it's like, well, we're going to decide what your intent is.
Just Andrews against.
Well, and
yeah,
oh, sorry,
Donnie, I'm not against all movies. The fact that I don't watch them doesn't mean I'm against them, Donnie. I can see you in there.
Well, so here's what scared me. Here's kind of what scared me. I started watching, Chris was talking about this earlier. We've watched these movies and we it's part of our families and things that we want to. I want to pass on to my kids virtue and something worth grabbing a hold on. Okay, Tolkien was great in the 40s and the 50s. Tell me something today that's virtuous and that we can say, look, this is an example of a moral person that's doing right because it's right.
Okay, so this is what we've seen though in culture everywhere. I mean, I've said this for a while: is show me good comedians, show me comedians like, Red Skelter or Bob Hope or these guys that you had to think to make a joke. Now it's just a bunch of foul language and sexual innuendos.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing funny about it. It's just it's toilet humor. It's humor for third graders, and that's what we've produced now.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it, we've come up, and as Christians, we have an obligation to be discerning. And guys, I'll tell you that what I saw in the Facebook post that you did, Andrew, it showed me something, and it convicted me too, because I compromised to watch certain movies of Marvel movies, of superhero movies. I would compromise in certain ways. And I'm going to show you a clip that every single person that's watched Spider-Man has stepped past it and said, okay, I'll compromise on it. Every single person watched Spider-Man, including myself, and said,
is this where he somehow explains what libel is?
Yeah, let's do libel. Let's do that. So this is the Hulk, by the way. Andrew, that is the Hulk.
I know who the Hulk is. I don't know who the guy is behind him.
Okay, that's Iron Man. So, all right, so here we go. Let's just get in this. And by the way, somebody had asked, this is Good Fight Ministries. They're on Vimeo. This is on YouTube. You can get the book, the video, Marvel and DC and Spider-Man. I don't remember what it's called. Marvel and DC's War on God. And you have to think about this. Every single one of us here will agree that there is an agenda in Hollywood for woke, non-Christian, God-hating culture that wants to indoctrinate.
Well, everyone here I think will agree, but what I've learned is not all that claim to be believers on Facebook and Twitter will agree.
And that's my point. Is that we will agree with it when it comes to the culture, when it comes to our politics, when it comes to our schools and everything else. But when we want to be entertained, we'll compromise with it somewhat. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, guys, and it's something that I think everybody that's a Christian needs to search your heart and not just be mad that somebody posted a truth. Okay, even if he did it, and I shouldn't have worded it that way. Well, there's some truth to it. Otherwise, everybody wouldn't have got so angry.
So
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So let me ask Justin. I mean, this is a fair question.
He's never asked a fair question.
Yeah, you
should. Go ahead.
So, okay, you're using the word compromised right now. I have no fight in the game or whatever. I mean, I don't really care much about comics at all, but. Okay, is it somebody are they compromising by watching a movie, or are they mature enough that they can watch it and say, you know what, I don't believe that. That's stupid. Kids,
it's just
sorry. It's entertainment. Yeah. We have to deal with some dumb stuff from the world.
Yeah.
And that's life, right? I mean, so is there a balance there in that, or are you just saying, boom, it's always a compromise if we're going to watch any sort of entertainment that has?
Well, there's certain areas. So let's look at it this way. There's certain areas. Anytime that it's blaspheming God, what does Ray Comfort always say? Did you watch that movie? Well, it had 78 times where it blasphemed God, the name of Jesus, and people, are saying, "Oh, it's such a great movie." And we have to ask ourselves a question. When is it that we're going to say enough's enough? We demand something out of Hollywood that doesn't blaspheme our God, because they won't do it against Allah, Buddha, Muhammad, or any of the other gods. They do homage with reverence to these other gods, but not with the biblical God.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, trust me, there are times I can watch a good show. We don't do much anymore, but but once you hear blasphemy, and I don't know why, but that's one that does it to me.
Yeah. I mean, like foul language doesn't bother me as much as blasphemy, but let me put it in different context. And I just because I don't know movies to be able to do it in that, but say you're listening to a song from Bethel Music, right? You don't know who they're from. You don't know anything about them. You hear it and it happens to be one of their more biblical songs. You like the lyrics, you like the music, so you like the song. Fine. In ignorance, you enjoy the song. You're not compromising. But once you learn that Bethel Music is a false cult, false religion that is false teaching, that is using their music to try to lure people in, now once you know that, now if you end up listening to it, then you're compromising, right? So there is, I think,
I want to push back on that a little bit.
I think there's what I'm saying is I think there's an ignorance you can have, but then when you have the knowledge,
exactly,
it's different. So
Bethel claims to be Christian and then does stuff, right? And I know Chris says you're probably going to say the same thing. On the other hand, you have movies that don't claim to be Christian,
and that's a good point.
They don't claim to be this at all. You know, and so we know what we're getting into when we watch.
So if there's and maybe maybe Chris won't push back if I say it this way, because I just don't know enough movies to do it. But if
does Andrew need to apologize for misstating?
No, I think he should.
The point being is, if there's a movie where, say, you had a movie that is very entertaining, but the author, well, I guess I can say with Star Wars, right? Let's use Star Wars. So you know that Star Wars was, I mean, I enjoyed it as a kid.
How dare you say anything about Star Wars?
I know. Someone was trying to kick a Star Wars versus Star Trek fight in the chat.
Somebody post this on Facebook.
Is there a difference? Aren't they the same thing?
No. He doesn't even know.
Yeah. You want to watch another?
Even I know there's a big difference between the two. I don't understand
Star Wars. Isn't that where Luke went warp speed to save Will Robinson?
That's the one.
I remember as a kid watching Star Wars. I thought it was entertaining. I liked it. But then when I became a Christian and learned that George Lucas was trying to teach a replacement religion, really a new age religion, I had trouble with it. Right? Why? Because now I was informed that this was his purpose, and now I didn't like the movie as much.
Yeah,
right. And that's what I want to kind of push back on just a little bit. When we are talking about things that are specifically theological, such as worship,
that's right.
You're absolutely right. It's one thing when you come to faith, you hear teaching, you're consuming things, you're not knowledgeable, and we've talked about this in Voice of Reason Radio. We often will say, well, if you deny the Trinity, you're not saved, carte blanche. Well, if you have someone who's newly saved and initially starts, say, under T.D. Jakes' church, he's not going to understand these things. As he grows in the faith and he recognizes this is false and he turns from it, great. If he continues in it and just denies it no matter how much, there's your problem. So to your example of Bethel Music, that's specifically God worship, supposedly, and you're singing it, then you learn what Bethel teaches. That should evoke a response where you go, I can't really do this. In the issue of secular entertainment, there are areas we should never cross that line. Absolutely. Okay, things that explicitly glorify that which God has condemned, we should never partake in. When you get into these areas where the nature of the language that's used, the subject material borders on religious, or they're using secular humanistic, or they're drawing from various sources to inspire their characters, and those have questionable backgrounds. Absolutely, that's where we have to go. where is my walk with Christ? Where is my maturity level? What do I understand? What am I understanding about this movie? And we have to ask ourselves those questions. So when it comes to the issue of, well, to watch a Marvel movie, we compromise, I'm going to push back a little bit and say, I agree with Anthony. I think that it's a maturity issue. Mm-hmm. However, what I will also say is when we are so defensive that we don't even want to take the time to ask the questions, when we don't want to give it any kind of grounds for, you just cannot tell me I can't watch this, where we aren't willing to at least examine our presuppositions, examine why we like these things, and question whether that's a maturity issue. Now we're getting into an issue of, are we compromising? Are we willing to accept that which is, we know, not God glorifying, just so we can be entertained? It's a maturity issue. It's a knowledge issue. It's a wisdom issue. All of these things come into play.
And see, that's where I was going. That's where I was going. See, and that's the whole case of, the authorial intent, because what I meant by what I said, Andrew and Anthony. So we didn't ask me what I meant. You just told me what I meant and went off this whole tirade.
I didn't tell you.
No, it was Anthony. It was Anthony did it.
He asked the question. He went for context. He was looking for context.
Yep.
To think about this. If you don't know, seriously, if you don't know and you're watching the movies and you start, I mean, how many are there now? Like 32 or something?
Too many.
There's a lot.
And all I know is I watched one that was called Endgame that was supposed to be the end of them all.
And it didn't end it.
Yeah, you missed 10 years of movies and watched the end. That's like reading the epilogue of Lord of the Rings, okay?
Yeah.
You're not going to get it.
And by the way, in Anthony's defense, Justin, it's not his fault that it takes you so long to answer a question that he forgot the context.
Okay. You do remember what the title is, right? It's Pastor Justin Pierce. I don't answer questions quickly. I have to explain it for context.
What have we learned here tonight? We've learned that Andrew is too quick at typing and doesn't give enough context in his post. Chris Honholtz can't type anything quickly, and Justin can't say anything briefly. So,
that's right.
Okay.
And it was R2D2 that did this.
I can say this.
No.
R2D2.
That was, as someone said, Andrew equals Spock, and that's why I could do that. I did actually like Spock growing up. I thought it was logical.
I can say this, however. Let me post this. Hold on before we go any further. We're in Anthony time.
Yeah. Okay. Show over. Let me just end the broadcast.
All right, everybody. Talk to you later. See you. Bye.
Look, I
told you it's going to happen.
Chris hit on a point where he was talking about.
Well, hold on.
People who get defensive.
Hold on 1 second, Drew. You know why Justin knew we were going to get to Anthony time?
Because I'm here.
Because Justin was here and he can't answer anything. Okay, sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
But when Chris is talking about people who get defensive over these things, like talking about superheroes, it brings us back to the title of the show. Do Christians idolize superheroes? Well, if my first response is to get defensive and to respond with, oh, are you saying I'm not a Christian? Or are you saying I'm compromising? Or are you saying I'm no longer a believer, that I hate God? Well, now I'm completely bypassing the issue, and I'm displaying my idolization.
Exactly.
Because I'm trying to hold on so tight, and I'm not willing to listen to what's actually being displayed. And so, like, I had no clue. Now, I don't really watch I don't watch Marvel movies, and so I prefer just like Batman movies, and especially the campy movies with Adam West, But
so this one's out.
Which one is this?
I don't know which one this is.
This is one.
Christian Bale ones.
I've seen them, but I can't watch them just like all the time.
I thought they were too violent.
But they're I didn't know, like when you were playing these clips of these creators, these writers, that this is what they were saying. This is what they were doing. Now I don't really watch Marvel anyway. But and then Justin, you made the comment about the anti-hero.
Yeah.
The anti-hero is huge now. Deadpool is an anti-hero.
Exactly.
Punisher is an anti-hero. The Red Hood, anti-hero.
100%.
And what they are is they're not heroes, they're not villains. They're people who are out for themselves. And then they do what they feel is right in their own eyes. So they have no moral compass other than themselves. And then when you look at someone like Deadpool, it's vile, it's violent, it's grotesque. It's everything that they're trying to get away from, saying like I think what a wholesome Captain America image would look like, where you had the creation of Captain America who fought the Nazis, right? We love Captain America because he fought the Nazis. But you bring in some of these other characters and they're just evil, trying to be displayed as what we should be and following our own quote unquote moral compass.
Yeah.
Captain America fought the Nazis?
Yeah, man.
You don't know that?
He froze. I mean, look at him right here.
That's the whole thing.
If you look how he looks now.
Well, we should actually let Chris Hunholz explain the story of anything, but that's the whole reason it was created. It was created during.
It was morale for World War II.
Yeah, he was actually World War II comic propaganda. And that's where he originated from.
I wish you would have fought the Marxists instead.
And that's actually so this is actually you bring up, but it makes the point. we cannot take out you look at Captain America. He was created for propaganda.
Yeah.
Right. This is he represents America going after the evil Hitler. It was a cartoon or comic book created for propaganda. It was created to influence people.
Exactly.
And
that's what they do still today.
Correct.
And there's still that.
Point. And so I think Anthony, you had a couple comments you wanted to read, and then Justin, you still had a clip you wanted to share.
Yeah, I want to pull up a little bit of these clips.
Yeah, so I thought this was really interesting as a comment, and I think she's right. I mean, Melissa Lax, the Roman Catholic saints, they're idolized heroes, right? So there is a basis for looking at heroes as being idols. I mean, look no further than
Pope.
their Pope's an idol, right? I mean, Roman Catholics have all kinds of idols.
Mary.
Okay,
right.
so then we can extend this, I think, to look at how Muslims deal with Muhammad.
Correct.
If you dare say anything about Muhammad, okay, that's
no,
you're in trouble now.
That's right. And
thank you. You're going to get us all killed.
Yeah. Joseph Smith idolized, Mary Baker Eddy idolized.
Yeah.
I mean, you go right on down the line with all these false religions. So, I mean, there is something to be said that there is the potential, and maybe that's what we really need to talk about in the show, or at least conclude with, is that there is the potential for people to idolize superheroes, and that can come from Christians and non-Christians alike. And as Christians, we have to be really, really careful about that.
Because it goes back to what you said. We have an idol factor for our heart, and we know God exists. This is the whole thing. The point I was trying to make with it is every single person knows God exists. Every single person either loves God or hates God, and those who hate God, they either want a replacement God, or they're filling something as an idol. I mean, I had this in I've told you this in jiu-jitsu all the time. You go in the gym and you'd hear the guys that go, oh, jiu-jitsu saved my life. No, well, really what it is, they made an idol out of it. And they the guys that were just strung out on drugs and no structure in their life, and they came into the gym, and jiu-jitsu takes a lot of effort. It's a lot of time. It's several days a week. So what is it? It gives them structure in their life.
It gave them something to do.
It gave them something to do, but it also gave them somewhere they focus because jiu-jitsu is not like karate. I've done both, right? Karate, you can get a black belt in 4 years. Okay. Jiu-jitsu, it takes like 12 years because there's so much more to learn.
Yeah.
You really have to devote yourself to learning it and being good at it to rise through the ranks. And there's guys that's like, oh, this saved my life. No, you made an idol out of it.
Yeah.
And even Christians can do that with jiu-jitsu. I've seen it.
Well, Christians, I mean, you mentioned Christian, and this is something I mentioned to Chris when we were talking yesterday, is we have a tendency to even take good things.
Chris Huff or Chris Hunholz?
Hunholz.
Oh, okay.
I mentioned it to Chris Huff too. But we have a tendency to take even the really good things and make idols out of them, such as our heroes, right? Like Spurgeon or the Puritans, the Reformers, things like that. And because again, our hearts are idol factories, we can I can take all of these Puritan works right here on this shelf, this bookcase. I can take all those and I can spend so much more time in those than I do in the scriptures. But what is that telling me? That's telling me I would rather read the Puritans than read the scriptures. So I have to really work, discipline, and devote myself to hearing from God first in his word before I go to the Puritans.
Well, you think about on Facebook, how many of us just constantly are quoting, oh, this guy said this guy said this, you know, oh, the greatest thinker ever, Calvin said this, and oh, Spurgeon said this, and you're like, okay, that's great. What did Jesus say? Do we have a gospel? Is there any, you know, I know, of course, so you guys know, I post needgod.com all the time.
All right.
You know, it's kind of nice, you know, I mean, just have that.
So let's get ourselves in trouble. I think
Oh.
we talked about this, but Carol saying, I know we're talking about superheroes, but what about programs or movies like The Chosen that Christians say is the greatest program?
No, they don't.
Not.
I mean, look,
Christians,
we're in Anthony time. Let's just open that can of worms.
All right.
Yeah, another topic for another. That's another minefield. And Andrew.
Well, actually, we've got 2 shows on that minefield, and if you go back into the archives, we have 2 recent shows on the minefield of The Chosen that we've sat and talked about. And I'll just tell you, Christians should not touch it. It's Mormon indoctrination, so don't touch it.
Actually, one of the interesting things, that guy who in that show who plays Jesus, he's I think they're filming a movie where he's playing Lonnie Frisbee, and Lonnie Frisbee is held as a hero to the Vineyard movement because he was one of the people with John Wimber who started the Vineyard movement.
Okay. Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you know
Not
anything
good,
about
but
Lonnie Frisbee, that's scary.
Yeah, that's not good. That is not good at all.
Yeah. I mean, but like this is one of the things with the Mormons. They produce, unfortunately, better, more biblically accurate films about Christ than Christians do. I mean, they stick to what the Bible actually says, even though the Book of Mormon, you know, the Mormon Jesus would be different, you know. And then so it's like I've seen things where it's like, man, this is really good, and then it's like, you know, presented by the book, you know, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like, oh, just chop off that end, and it's a great thing.
Well, I'm waiting to hear about the season where Jesus appears in the Americas.
In the Americas, there you go. All right. Okay, so Justin, you know, we're
okay. Let's throw a few more out here just real quick.
No, I was going to say that we just end the show.
Oh, well, let's just end the show. Well, so Anthony times. Anthony, tell him we got to do some Anthony time. You know,
we should.
Yeah, we should. Okay, so just so everybody, people have asked. This is the Good Fight Ministries. It's Marvel and DC's God, War on God, and you know, like I said, I want to encourage everybody to watch it.
Maybe you can
watch
put the link in.
I can't. Like I told you guys, for some reason I can't do any conversations on the right hand side.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. Anyway, so if you guys can get a link in there for it, it'd be great. Really good stuff, but I want to encourage everybody to watch it. You may not agree with everything, but at least it'll give you a starting point so that you can do some discernment on this and determine, should this stuff be in my family's homes? You know, I mean, be diligent and say, you know, okay, so we're not being compromised. Let's look at it and see what it says. Now here's one area that I had a problem with when I've heard it several times. And this is the area I told you about Spider-Man. Let's see if this pulls up.
DC's movies that are based upon their superheroes, the reliability of God to deliver people from evil is questioned, and faith in substitute fictitious superheroes is put in his place. This is nowhere better illustrated than in the first installment of the Spider-Man.
Great.
That was epic.
Are we going to have a commercial?
Well, while that's coming up,
wasn't that
Chris did give us the link
when it comes up? I'll
first,
pop it back in.
Yeah, did give us the link for the first comic cover of Captain America. So I did post that. Thank you, Chris, for that. I posted it into the chat if anybody wants to look at it and see it. The propaganda is all over the front cover. I just looked at it myself.
Yeah. Oh, have you got it? Have you got it? Can you pull a picture of it up?
Yeah, we can maybe pull that up. Hold on. So
great.
There we go. So you have to, your screen is just because your internet, you should have downloaded that thing and then you wouldn't have that problem. Just saying. So here's the comic.
Clipgrab.com. That's how you can download those things.
Yeah, no kidding. I should have.
So here's 1941 is when it was first published. You could
something about Hitler is right there on the screen.
Where?
You scroll back up, it's right there. He's punching Hitler right in the jaw.
Oh, okay.
And he's punching Hitler there.
Yeah, yeah, he's punching Hitler. Here you got the Nazi symbols. So yeah, I mean that's all right. So
I'm sorry.
It's a great video, Justin.
I'm trying to get this pulled back up.
Justin, this is great.
Hey, this is how you do quality.
While praying the Lord's Prayer, a prayer given by Jesus Christ,
what do you
only to be.
I give up. I give up. I tried.
Do you want to explain what it said?
Okay, so in the Spider-Man movie, you had the Green Goblin bust in the house of Aunt May, and she's praying the Lord's Prayer, and they accentuate it to the point where she says, "Our Father who art in heaven," and she gets to the point of, "Give us this day our daily bread and deliver us," and he busts in, and they point out that he accentuates it, and the bad guy, Green Lantern,
Green Goblin.
Green Goblin. Thank you. I said I probably messed it up twice.
Of course, Chris knew that.
So he comes in and he screams at her and says, "Finish it, finish it," and she said, "Deliver us from evil." And the whole idea is you can't trust the God of the Bible, the one that says deliver us from evil, but you can trust, and they said you can trust your friendly neighborhood superheroes. And then they go to the next clip, which is Marvel's hold on, give me just a second. It's the Chris Pratt guy. Star-Lord.
Yeah. Guardians of the
He's
Galaxy.
got the gun to Spider-Man, and they're all having this big argument with the heroes. And he says, "I'll blow him away. I'll blow him away." And he says, Dr. Death, Dr.
Strange.
Dr. Strange, keep it on track here. Dr. Strange, he says, what master do you serve? And Pratt says, "What am I supposed to say? Jesus?" And nobody bats an eye at this. And the whole idea is, you're not really able to trust that Jesus guy. They don't talk about anything else that way. It's always Jesus in derision. It's always minimizing Jesus, and giving the true biblical attributes of God are always married. The Gnostic conversion, they're always married to the big bad guy. But the heroes, they get the great music, they get the great, starlight, where you're supposed to hope for them to be the heroes. And who are they really fighting? Well, according to the writers, they made it so that they're fighting God. And if you watch these videos, it will blow your mind. At the very least, I'll pull this up so you guys can see. It's the Good Fight Ministries, Marvel
DC
Exposed.com.
Yeah.
Just watch it. If you agree with it, fine. If you don't, at least do your due diligence. At least, be a Berean and look at it and say, does he have a point? Now, maybe you don't agree with everything, and maybe you can argue.
And let's give the other side. The argument people are going to have is, there are people who are looking for this stuff everywhere, right? This guy got, he started his ministry, showing, stuff with rock and roll.
Yep.
And so you could make the claim that, he's still trying to make a name he's still trying to keep that going. So he finds Satan in everything.
Sure. Absolutely.
There's going to be that, but you got to also, when you realize the guys creating these films are saying what their goal is. It boggles my mind when people tell you why they're doing what they're doing. Like, Biden will tell you why he's doing what he's doing, and then people go, "No, that's not really what he meant." Why isn't it? He's saying You know, like I want to raise taxes. He doesn't really want to raise taxes. He said he did, and he's doing everything to raise taxes. Like, that it's mind-boggling. Like, and that is where I think there's the idol of it is when these guys say they are creating these films to replace God.
Yeah.
And people go, no, that's not really what they meant.
Well, Garth Ennis is one of the biggest writers. Garth Ennis, I mean, if you guys look on your in your comic books, Garth Ennis is one of the guys that he's part of it. And his goal in The Boys, everybody's seen, okay, I know it's awful, but he also writes for Marvel. He writes for, every other genre. And every time he depicts Jesus as a buffoon, an idiot, somebody to be blasphemed, he's always depicted, and every single one of his characters wants to kill God, wants to kill Jesus specifically.
It tells you a lot about Chris Pratt playing that role, because Chris Pratt supposedly in Hollywood is this Christian.
Yeah.
At least that's how people portray him as, and what the Christian community thinks of him. But how can you be a Christian and then be around these writers who have said, this is my goal?
Yeah.
Well, and I'll speak to the writer part of it a little bit. When I got into comic books, it's in the 90s, and a lot of the still heroic good versus evil was there. As it was transitioning from late 90s into 2000s, we saw the shift of people from my generation getting into this field of writing and absolutely challenging the status quo, going for the liberal bent, going for the liberal storylines, making them more graphic, making the heroes more questionable, making the villains more sympathetic. And what you're starting to see now with the new phase of Marvel heroes, everybody's saying they're going woke. They don't understand. Back early 2000s, Marvel did this in the comic books. All of these characters that everybody says, oh, they're going woke. This was going on then. It nearly bankrupted Marvel. Marvel nearly bankrupted because of it, because the readers didn't want to see this kind of political commentary. They didn't want to see forced diversity. Marvel admitted that and got slammed for admitting it, because they said the people don't want to read this. And then they backtracked and said, oh, well, that's what the comic stores are telling us. So we're not admitting it. The comic stores are telling us this.
And you got to think about it. That's where that's where the agenda.
Yeah.
But that's where the agenda pushes. I mean, I think we've all seen it, is you have this idea that they don't believe in soft selling. They have a wedge. Their mentality is, let's shove it down people's throat.
Yeah.
Then we back off and get you to compromise. It's the Hegelian dialectic process. It's tried and true. It's been since the 30s and 40s of getting people, shoving it down people's throat, back off a little bit and say, oh, look, we're the tolerant ones, and you stupid Christians, you're the ones raging against us. We really didn't mean it that way, and
then they push it back again.
Exactly.
And it's just a little bit further each time.
Did you guys watch the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of demonic wickedness?
No.
That was crazy. That was a crazy one.
I will admit that I watched it with my daughter because we wanted to see what it was about. I literally watched it because I wanted to see what it's about, because I had this feeling in my gut that it was going to be awful. And there was nothing more demonic that I've seen in any of I mean, I can't think of anything that they would have done even more blatantly demonic than what they did. I mean, they were using the eye of Horus, the all-seeing eye. That's what the eye of Agamotto is a representation of the eye of Horus. And it's the cultic magic, the upside down cross, the upside down triangles. They were using all these cultic symbols, and they're right there in front of everybody saying, look, you can too. We can do this.
That character. And
exactly.
That's been a consistent theme with that character throughout its creation.
Exactly. And that's been part of it.
In conclusion, I think you still had another thing you were going to say earlier.
I was just going to say, this is where having a good understanding of presuppositionalism is important. That there's Christians, there's unbelievers, and there is nothing in between.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to recognize that people who aren't Christians, who are making movies, hate God. They're enemies of God. They're against God. They're sons of Satan. I mean, we see all kinds of descriptions of Scripture for them. And so if we're going to watch Marvel movies, if we're going to watch fill in the blank, recognize the source and just know what you're doing.
Yeah. Be discerning without a doubt.
Right.
Now, one thing I will say, protect your kids.
Who wrote it?
That's okay.
Right.
If it's a
protect the kids.
Yeah, that's right. Protect your kids. So here's another comment that was written earlier. I was a fan of watching Marvels before, but most of the movies that I am of watching with is Superman. But as I've done my deep research on this movie, that they are portraying is a practice of occultism, and that is why I stopped watching these movies again. It creeps me up. They are unveiling satanic powers, Jeriel.
They talk about that in like episode or chapter 3 of the video that I was trying to show you.
So let me try to sum up, with tonight. So what have we looked at? We looked at the fact of, other than that, Andrew is bad at typing.
But he does correct himself.
Demonic sounds like 99.9% of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, Clinton.
Amen.
Yeah, Clinton.
You're right, Clint.
So what we see is that the fact is as Christians, we should be, first off, showing love to other believers. We should be believing them and not just looking for some way that you said something that we want to go after.
Yeah.
Like we just want to make it, that was, why did I bring up Jennifer? Because Jennifer Greenberg has a lot of followers, and she's going to sit there and she's always saying to defend. If you read her blog, she's defending the victims. Well, she lied for what I said, exaggerated what I said to make me look worse. That is someone who is victimizing somebody.
Geez, she should be helping you because you're playing the victim right now.
Yeah, I know. She should. Which is what she was doing with it. We're going, oh, you lied about it. It's like I just stated fact. But the point is that we have to be careful with there's so many people that reacted to that. And even after clarification, just wanted to claim that, oh, no, you're lying. And so, I think anyone that kisses their dog is making an idol of their dog.
That's right.
This is my baby.
That's his Superman.
That is just gross.
Justin, I was with you.
That's
right
my baby.
until you did that.
The dentist just died.
Oh.
Yeah. The dentist just lost.
I air kissed her. Come on.
No, you did not, and she did not. Oh,
no, she looked to the side.
I mean, she had her tongue out and then back in right when you went to kiss her.
I think that's a version of pedo of
don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh man, yeah.
Don't go there. Nope.
Let's get back on track to end this. I can't believe you did that. All right.
This train derailed a while ago.
Yeah. So I think that one of the things we need to do is we need to be cautious with the way we react with one another on social media. Social media, I think, unfortunately, brings out the worst in people. People don't don't hear people out. They have a knee-jerk reaction, jump on that, and then double down on that rather than hearing what someone's saying.
Yeah.
The irony of people saying that, that I have to repent because I'm lying about and trying to justify by my clarification. And it's like, that's doubling down. Like, listen to what I'm saying, hear out what I'm saying. And, so you get things like that are just, we have to be cautious with that.
Yeah.
However, can we make an idol of some of these superheroes and the films? Yes. We're seeing that. Do we need to be cautious with some of these in look, these unbelievers are producing it, as we've shown, for the reason of replacing God.
Yeah.
So unbelievers watch it for that reason because they hate God. But the question is, why are the Christians doing it? I get it. It's entertainment. But is it simply entertainment? No. Why? Look, we talked about it. Why was Captain America created? That first episode, it was propaganda. And when you're watching these movies, it's propaganda. So as to Anthony, what Anthony said, it takes a mature believer to watch this stuff and recognize what's happening. My kids hated watching movies or TV with me because I would stop, be like, okay, I'd literally stop and be like, okay, let's talk about the agenda here, right? I was teaching them critical thinking because, I forget who said it, whether it was Drew or Justin there, about protecting the kids, but what was I trying to do? I want to train my children up so that they see that this agenda is in everything. Like you're not going to watch anything in Hollywood today, and they're not putting an agenda in there. So you have to know that going in. So the question becomes, is that an agenda where we could say it's just entertainment for us, or is that going to influence? We are to be in the world, but not of the world. But I got news for you. The simple reality is that these things influence Christians more than Christians influence the world. Okay. I'll just give you a quick thing. We were supposed to, when the Olympics were going to be in Japan, Living Waters Asia was going to have me fly out to Japan to do a training to train people to evangelize for the Olympics. They canceled it. Why? Because Spider-Man was coming out that weekend, and the churches were going to go see Spider-Man over an evangelism training with millions of people coming in their country for the Olympics.
That sounds like churches that close on Christmas because they want to open presents instead.
Yeah, I mean, it's where's our priority, right? And so I look, how do you boil a frog? You don't stick it in hot water. You put it in cold water and turn the heat up. And when Christians are giving themselves over and over and over to the world's entertainment, there are many Christians, not all Christians, but there's many Christians that end up being influenced by that. And if you deny that, then just answer the question, why are so many professing believers in churches today that are now promoting homosexuality? Where did it come from? It came from the culture. It came from an indoctrination from the culture over and over. Public schools, movies, TikTok, all this stuff. And you're getting inundated with it, and it will desensitize you to that.
That's the key word, desensitization.
Because that's the goal of it.
And that's what we have to watch out for with our kids when we're watching movies and everything else.
Parents, annoy your children and stop the film to say, hey, did you notice that they said this?
Yep. Sound like a broken record. That's right.
Or well, if you want to introduce a superhero, just say, this is what Bible Man would say.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it. Bible Man Superbook.
He's super corny.
Yeah.
Bible Man Superbook, and you're set.
So Carol says, love you, Justin, because you love your puppy.
Oh, yeah.
Carol, we'll still pray for you.
Yeah, now we have another thing to pray for.
Yeah, now we have something else to pray for you.
You guys know you have all kinds of stuff to pray for me about. So, hey, don't forget, next week we have the discipleship with.
Well, hold on. He's got a couple more comments.
Cole, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Cole in the back has a question, and I can't answer because I've never seen it, but. Is the Marvel DC War on God movie just an OMG Satan fest, or does it bring scripture alongside to back up the biblical truth?
Well, I don't use OMG, but I'll just say that. I point that out. So here's where I'm going to come from. It uses scripture, and it uses the videos, documented video evidence of what the authors actually say, so we know what their authorial intent is. So since we know what they're saying, we know, as Andrew just said, we know what they mean, and we know what they're trying to do is indoctrinate. It's slowly, incrementally taking us from one point to the next. So,
okay. And then Bondservant for Jesus is asking to Justin, you said there were 3 parts to those videos, but I only see 2 parts available and you have to pay for it. Did Justin get a special viewing thing?
Yeah, I paid for the movie, the documentary. I actually on Vimeo, and it's got multiple chapters. And what I said was that in chapter 3 it talks about the Superman and the origin and the whole story about Superman. It kind of lays that out. There's several others. I mean, it breaks down a lot of the characters and the ones that and look, not every single character has a very bad origin, I guess I should say, or has, demonic writers or evil writers, but what they're talking about is the ones that are being influential right now.
Justin, just Melissa, I know, is on a restricted budget fixed income. There's a YouTube channel that you found that has some of these things that would be free. What is that channel?
It's let me see. I can pull it.
While you pull that up, I'm just going to put this up here and say, you know what? I'm glad that Justin did what happened with his dog, because Donnie in the other room posted, "I miss my dog now. I'm going home. Yay!" Oh, I love you, Donnie. I love you. Are you leaving yet? You don't look like you're packing up. Okay, did you get that YouTube? You get that YouTube?
He's going to stay tomorrow for the get together, I'm sure.
Well, that's good because hey, Donnie, since if you're going to stay for tomorrow night, can we? I brought all my guns. Can we use you for target practice?
Ooh, that was mean. That was so mean.
Andrew, I saw that they were looking to have a lot of snow up in Idaho, and
no, they had it. Oh, I missed it. I'm so glad.
Aren't you glad they didn't invite you up to go snowmobiling?
Oh, wow, that was good.
That's good.
So here's the I'll tell you what, in the private chat, what I can do is
you would have had a walker the next time.
Here's the thing. So two things with that. One, when I went out there, Thomas asked me, he's like, "Hey, you want to go ATV riding?" I said, "Just remember, this time I'm coming armed." But the irony is, here's the funny thing is, I put out there a like a thing to all the speakers, and I said, if anyone named Thomas asks you to go for an ATV ride, the answer is no. And I didn't say anything more than that. No one said anything. So it's hilarious because people were sitting there and driving with like, he picked people up from the airport, and they're like, "Oh, just talking." And he goes, "Oh, I like to shoot. I like to go ATV riding." And they go, "Oh, you're that Thomas." It was great because every one of the speakers ended up going like, "Oh, Thomas, you're that Thomas guy. Oh, okay." So he was trying to figure out what was said. And so the link it was shared. The channel that on YouTube is called The Harvest. So if you go and look for Marvel and DC, or Marvel and DC's War on God,
I put the
you put the link, but
in the private chat.
People in audio can't see a link. Remember, this is a podcast, and where we end up having thousands of people that watch, that listen to the podcast and not watch. It's kind of hard to show a link in
millions of people.
No, we actually don't have millions of people, but we do have thousands. So just go to The Harvests. That's the channel. I don't know which other ones they have there, but
if you just type in Marvel and DC's War on God, it pops up. It's like there's like 6 or 7 different promo links, and then there's the like 2 or 3 main ones. So it's good. You got some good stuff. Look at it, see what you think.
All right. So with that, next week we will have Justin. We'll have on here. Will be Andy Burgraff, and so that'll be good. I don't have a copy of his book to read ahead of time, but just saying, Justin. But
you can buy one just like everybody else on Amazon.
Ouch!
And it come in 2 days.
Yeah, except I until I read the pile that I already have, my wife doesn't let me buy any books, so I can only get that are given.
You need to read.
Yeah, I do. But I'm here talking to you too long because we're 38 minutes into Anthony
time. Is there
time.
any giveaways you can enter?
I told you we'd be on Anthony time.
I can enter.
Chris is going to get a book pretty quick.
I can enter a giveaway, but Chris will win it, so it doesn't matter. I'm just saying.
So how many of them does Chris actually win, and how many of them are staged? That's what
I actually know. No,
90% of them have been staged by Andrew.
Oh, I will challenge that statistic.
Okay, 85.
Even the last time you even admitted that, oh no, Andrew's going to say something about this one. Oh, here we go. KT is saying a book named Anthony Time.
Good ring to it. That's
It'll be in the front. It'll say that it's only 150 pages long. It'll be 275.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, man.
Edited by Andrew Rappaport.
That's right.
Well, okay. So when Anthony and I first started working together, and he would do a talk, he would go super long. So I helped him edit down. But when he wrote his book, I helped him edit up. We actually doubled the size of his book, but it was for good reason. He wrote it originally because his first book, right? Yeah. He was writing with his mindset, and I kept saying, so who's your audience? Oh, well, unbelievers. Well, they're not going to know this. So he had to like explain everything, which I think it did really help the book to be a lot better. Other than the fact that the co-author, plagiarized me, but literally. But anyway,
He'll be off the book soon.
He'll be
next
edition.
Next edition.
So next week we'll have Andy Burgraff on, and so I look forward to that. And then coming up, like I said, we have the one with Casey Butner and then James White. So those are some things to be looking forward to. All right. So with that, I think that is a wrap for tonight. I'm sorry, that's the Rap Report podcast.
That's Rap Report.
So with that, strive to make today an eternal day for the glory of God. See you next time.
Good night.